Chapter 1. The one with the sludge villain. Midoriya Izuku was the only person who could get close to him. Katsuki hated that. Hey Deku. He slams his hands onto Midoriya's desk. The smaller boy startles from where he had been packing his book bag, spinning to look at Katsuki with large, frightened eyes. Kaken, did you? What the fuck do you think you're doing? He spits. His quirk itches against the palms of his hands, but he doesn't allow the explosion to ignite. I'm packing my bag. Deku squeaks, pressing himself as far back into his chair as he can. Midoriya, you wanted to go to UE too, didn't you? Pathetic. Stop fucking following me, he snarls, feeling the familiar tug of the scar tissue on his cheek. I can't do anything without you being right fucking there. Sorry. Don't apologize to me. I was supposed to be the only one from this shitty junior high to get into UE. You don't get to piggyback off me like you do for every fucking thing else. A small explosion lights between Katsuki's hands and the desk, and for a moment the world stops. But Midoriya is too distracted to activate his quirk, and Katsuki silently thanks whatever god there is for that. Midoriya does wince at the sound, though. Kaken, I wasn't. You can't even use your damn quirk without me. Katsuki presses closer into Midoriya's space, hands still firmly planted on his desk. You'll never make it in without me, and I'll be damned if I'm caught anywhere near you. He straightens up suddenly, grabbing Midoriya's notebook in his hand as he stands. Hero analysis for the future number 13. Deku is such a fucking nerd. I'm better than you, Katsuki spits. It doesn't matter what you try, I won't let you near me, and I will win. He has to be quick about this. Deku is standing, hand outstretched when Katsuki lights an explosion in the hand holding the notebook. Sure enough, the fire is gone from his hand as soon as it appears. He snarls. The paper is decently singed, but the weight in the pit of his stomach is still there. Deku lunges at him, the fire from Katsuki's explosion suspended over his hand. He steps back, pushing against Deku's chest to unbalance him, before making a break for the window and throwing the notebook out and into the koi pond in the courtyard. Kaken, even without looking, he can hear the tears in Midoriya's voice. He forces himself to turn around. His own flames still dance between Midoriya's fingers, and he tears his eyes away to throw his chin into the air. You won't use it against me, he says. You can't. He watches Midoriya bite his lip, and one of his hands curls into a tight fist. The other still plays idly with the flame, and he forces himself not to look. He is shaking, and Katsuki knows he has won. Sure, take the entrance exam. It'll prove just how useless you are without me. Katsuki turns on his heel toward the door, leaving a quaking, crying Deku in the classroom. As soon as he is in the twisting maze of hallways, sure that Deku won't come running after him, Katsuki feels the tension drop from his shoulders. Tears prick in the corners of his eyes, and he bites his tongue to push them away. The scar tissue on his cheek pulls almost painfully, if he was still capable of feeling it, and he brings his hand up to run his fingers over the malformed skin. It has been 6 years since Midoriya had turned his own quirk against him. Some part of him is still terrified it will happen again. Izuku doesn't watch Kaken walk out of the room. He stares hard at the little ball of fire in his hand and watches it flicker between his fingers. He knows he's crying, but this isn't new. For someone with a fire quirk, he sure does cry a lot. He almost laughs at the thought and wipes his nose on the back of his hand. He is the only one left in the classroom, and Kaken is probably out of the building by now. Or pretty close, at least. He sighs, and the flame flickers, but doesn't go out. What am I supposed to do with you, huh? He asks. It doesn't respond. Figures. He squints and blows on the flame. It flickers and grows under his breath, shrinking back to its original size when he stops. Guess you're coming outside with me. He mumbles, grabbing his book bag and throwing it over one shoulder, careful not to let the obnoxious little flame get too close to anything. All things considered, that could have gone a lot worse. His footsteps echo in the empty hallways. I mean, he didn't try to attack me, and I managed to snatch you up before he burnt my book too badly. He winces when the flame brushes his ring finger. He must have gotten careless. That's not very nice, you know. Burning me. He scowls at the little fire in his palm. It doesn't respond. Izuku sighs. He's right, you know. Well, kind of right. I can't work on my own. I am useless without him. He feels the burning at the back of his throat again and tries desperately to fight it down. The flame flickers against his breath and Izuku scowls at it. And you're not helping. The afternoon sun is bright and Izuku squints against it, nearly losing his delicate control over the small flame. Not small enough that he can just blow it out though. He stops by the first decorative pond and lowers his hand into the water, watching the flame sizzle out. He shakes the water off his hand before jogging over to the koi pond beneath his classroom's window. His notebook is floating, thankfully, on the surface of the water. He rescues it from the few curious fish that are nibbling at the corners, and it drips with water as he pulls it up. He curses under his breath. Drying paper is the worst task. Maybe if he had held on to that flame, he could try drying it a little faster. But of course he hadn't thought that far ahead. He does have a few hours before he needs to be home, though, so he can sacrifice a couple minutes and let the sun work its magic. Careful not to rip the very, very wet paper, he opens the book and lays it out on the hot stone around the pond. The ink hasn't run everywhere, thank the heavens. He drops his backpack to the ground between his feet and sits down. The news is relatively quiet. A couple of skirmishes, something about a guy with a slime quirk trying to steal a woman's purse. He switches to the hero forums. It looks like Mount Lady's debut earlier this week is kicking off wonderfully. People love her. Granted, half of the comments are about her shapely physique and nice face. While it is twice as bad for female heroes, Izuku knows that a large part of a hero's popularity comes from appearance. Which is why he knows he had to be twice as cool as everyone else if he's going to be a great hero. Either that, or he's going to have some kind of wicked mask. Izuku knows he is kind of plain. Not unattractive per se, but his wild green curls and round face aren't anything to gawk at. That's not to mention the twisting, red burn scars that cover his hands and forearms. Perks of having a fire quirk, he muses, turning a few pages in his notebook to give them a chance to dry. His quirk is, well, in some way most quirks are impractical, aren't they? They're not supposed to be functional superpowers like old comic books wanted them to be. They just are, and it's people who can use them well that turn them into superpowers. He knows this, and yet he can't help but think his quirk is especially impractical. In one of their first biology classes, they had a unit on quirk genetics. Because quirks are, at their heart, mutations, it isn't unusual for a child to manifest a quirk that is completely different from either parent. But quirks are genetic mutations, which means they are usually hereditary. Sometimes the child inherits the same, or a similar, quirk as one of their parents. Kakin and his mother comes to mind. And sometimes the two parental quirks combine in the child, making something new. His mother can draw small objects to her, and his father can breathe fire. So naturally, Izuku can draw fire to him. Izuku's quirk, well, it's everything his 4-year-old self would have wanted. It's cool. Any type of manipulation quirk is cool, and it earns him a lot of odd looks. But it doesn't afford him a lot of benefits, either. Literally, all he can do is pull fire toward him. There is only a pull motion, no means of stalling or hovering, and certainly no push function. He can't make fire like Kakin can, or Endeavor, for that matter. When he found out he had a fire quirk, he was so excited to be like the flame hero, but alas, he doesn't even have a means of extinguishing whatever fire he can collect. And, save for his lips and the inside of his mouth, thanks Dad, his skin is still as susceptible to burns as everyone else. It made the first few years a nightmare, to put it lightly. There is some buzz on the forums about how All Might hasn't been seen around the Tokyo area in a few days. A few of his friends are speculating that he has been sent on some kind of covert mission. Professional yike. Is he even capable of being stealthy though? Professional yike, like come on. Professional yike. This is All Might we're talking about. Crimson Riot. Yeah, but IS2G he's getting sneakier. Crimson Riot at best. Gnas, you live in Tokyo. When was the last time you saw AM getting his groceries? Best Gnas. Don't fucking drag me into this, Best Gnas. Oh shit. Best Gnas. Come to think of it, I've never seen him doing mundane shit. Izuku frowns. He turns another few pages in his notebook, it's almost dry enough, and pulls up YouTube. A quick search later, and he's jumping into the chat. Small_might. There's tons of videos on YT of him at the laundromat or WTV, but they're all 6+ years old. Crimson Riot, i.e. trust Deku to know what's up. Professional Yike. Where does he go, then? He's a fucking mountain he can't hide. Small underscore might, ifk m8. Best Gnas, helpful as always. Small underscore might, I live to serve. He pockets his phone and stands, stretching until his back pops. The quickly wrinkling pages of the notebook are still damp, so he opts to just carry it. Izuku loves his tacky yellow backpack, but he doesn't trust it as far as he can throw it. The path home is familiar. The shortest route happens to cut through a lot of back neighborhoods. The loudest part is through an underpass, for heaven's sake. So it's a perfect, quiet environment. That is, he can talk out loud to himself without bugging anyone. Ideal. On top of that, he can practically walk it with his eyes closed, so he can't really be blamed for being distracted, can he? He is just so lost in his own head that he doesn't hear the wet slurping sound of something coming through the manhole behind him. Or, he does hear it, but too little too late. You won't mind if I borrow your skin for a little, will you, boy? The thing grins, if it can be called a grin at all. Its mouth drips with dark green slime, and its yellow eyes swim through its gelatinous body. Izuku turns to run, a scream curdling in his throat. But, as always, it's too little too late. The slime monster is on him before he can make a sound. It lifts him off the ground, thrashing, but his desperate fingers find little purchase in the villain's liquid body. This will only hurt for a minute. The villain practically giggles, forcing a liquid tendril down his throat. And then it will all be over for you. Izuku tries to scream above the villain's giddy giggles, but he doesn't have the air, he doesn't. His vision begins to swim, a black haze creeping around his line of sight. He pulls desperately on his quirk. If the villain is liquid, then he will be weak to fire, right? Right? Nothing comes. He pulls with all his fading strength, but nothing comes. The tears already welling in his eyes spill over. He has a fire quirk, a perfect match to a villain like this, and he can't even use it, and now he's going to die because of it. Oh God, he is going to die. He's going to die, and he never got to tell Mom goodbye. His movements are sluggish. He can't fight much longer. His eyes are unfocused, and he closes them, squeezing out a tearful apology to whoever would miss him. There you are, villain. Izuku can't quite hear the new voice through the sludge in his ears. There is a yell from far, far away, and he slips into the waiting arms of unconsciousness. A wind, stronger than any he's ever felt, whips over his body, ripping the sludge from his lungs, and he gasps, choking and coughing. He doesn't register that he is falling until two strong arms catch him moments before he hits the ground. They set him on his feet, but Izuku still feels hands on his shoulders, keeping him upright, and he unconsciously leans into them. He tries to blink the tunnel vision away, his chest still heaving with every breath. He will never take air for granted ever again. Slowly, his vision clears, and he looks up from his feet into the face of his savior. Are you okay, my boy? His brain short-circuits. All Might. He instinctively throws his hands in front of his chest, and he knows he is gesticulating wildly. But heaven help him, All Might is right here. I'm fine. Well, actually, I was nearly suffocated by that guy, but you seem to have taken care of him. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. I was trying to get out, but it wasn't really working, and what are you doing here, anyway? You're based in Tokyo. Unless you haven't been seen in Tokyo lately because you've been here? In any case, I'm just so glad you showed up. He squeaks as All Might laughs and claps him again on the shoulder. A nervous talker, eh? Izuku nods sheepishly, or as sheepish as he can be, with his eyes still owlishly wide. All Might laughs again, and Izuku is going to be hearing that sound for the rest of his life. He'd bottle it up if he could. Play it on repeat in his headphones as he falls asleep. Blast it at Kaken whenever he comes too close. If only. All Might is talking again, and shit, Izuku has been so caught up in his own thoughts that he hasn't heard a word of it. Well, I'll be off. All Might grins, lightly smacking the sludge guy, who glares at him from the inside of the two plastic bottles. Gotta turn this fella into the police, after all. Wait. Izuku snaps out of his daze and tumbles forward, accidentally smacking All Might in the leg with his outstretched hand. The sludge villain glares at him from his tiny plastic prison. Can I get your autograph? Already done, my boy. Stay out of trouble now. I will. Thank you again. Izuku calls, but All Might has already jumped into the air. The windy backlash catches him full in the face, and he stumbles backwards, nearly stepping on his notebook. Sure enough, the open page is covered in All Might's large, distinctive signature. Too bad it's this book, which is going to be permanently warped by water. Maybe it'll add charm. He doesn't realize that he's trembling until he picks the notebook up and tries to close it. It makes sense. He had just nearly died. That probably isn't going to process for a few more hours. Clutching the notebook to his chest, he sits down with his back to a nearby tree. _might at Professional Yike at Best Gnas at Crimson Riot I found All Might. Crimson Riot, UWHAT. Professional Yike. Well, you can't just leave us with that. _might. Yeah, I'm still TRY into process. _might. Cause I almost got killed by this slime guy. _might. But then All Might showed up and saved me. _might. So I'm not dead. And also AM signed my notebook. And I'm 80% he cradled me in his arms, but I was kinda dying so I'm not really sure. Crimson Riot. Bro, are you okay? Crimson Riot. I can't even. Wow. Best Gnas. That's a fucking tale if I ever heard one. Professional Yike. His strong, beefy arms. What I wouldn't give. Crimson Riot. Oi, knock it off, our boy almost died. _might. You have some sympathy. _might. Asterisk sympathy. I'm still shaking a slayasoy jouch. _might. I asked him while he was here and not in Tokyo. Best Gnas and? Best Gnas. I'm dying here, bro, what he doing? _might. I think he answered me, but I was too busy being starstruck to hear what he said. _might. Srey. Crimson Riot. Bro, it's K. Professional Yike. Yeah, it's not like we expected anything less from you. The ultimate fanboy. Best Gnas. So are we still thinking he's on some covert mission or other? Best Gnas. Do we need to keep this on the down low? _might. Maybe. He's taking Slime Guy to the police, so maybe not. Crimson Riot. Well, keep us updated, bro. Crimson Riot. And go take a nap, SMH. You need a cookie, my friend. Izuka snorts. He does need a cookie. Or at least, a cookie would be really nice right now. Maybe when he gets home, he can bake some before practice. What time is it? He groans and looks at his phone's clock again. He still has time, but he will probably have to enlist his mom's help if he does want cookies before he has to leave. He isn't shaking nearly so bad now. It will probably be safe to stand up. And he immediately regrets that decision. Bracing his hands on his knees while he waits for the tunnel vision to fade, he feels the familiar tremor return, not to his limbs, but to his core. Like his ribcage is quivering. It isn't a pleasant feeling, and he prays it will fade soon enough. A large explosive noise crashes into his train of thought, and he spins around to find the source. His eyes widen as he sees the plume of dark smoke climbing into the sky. No rest for the wicked, eh? Looks like cookies are going to have to wait. Clutching his notebook to his chest, he starts to move toward the commotion. His walk turns into a run, and soon he is sprinting into town. The air becomes thicker with smoke the closer he gets, and his still weak lungs protest, leaving him coughing. If All Might is in town, maybe he will be here to sort things out? That would be awesome. And even if he doesn't show up, there are lots of other heroes in the area that he still could use more notes on. He can always use more notes on everyone. The actual scene is significantly less under control than he expected, considering it took him nearly 6 minutes to run there. On top of that, a crowd has already gathered and Izuku is far too short to see anything that is happening. Excuse me, what's going on? He asks, hoping to grab the attention of one of the nearby spectators. Thankfully, someone hears him. There's some guy with a slime quirk holding a middle schooler hostage. The pros can't get close without hurting the kid, or none of their quirks are effective. Anyhow, we're kinda at a standstill. A slime quirk? There's another person with one? He fights the panic rising in his throat. What was the explosion earlier? If the guy has a slime quirk, why is everything on fire? The kid he's got has some kind of explosion quirk, I think. The guy says, rocking on his feet trying to get a better view. He's making everything really difficult, actually. Tish, thanks, I've got to go. Izuka stammers, scampering away. He skirts the edge of the crowd, blood roaring in his ears. He has to find a way to get in. This is Kakin, it has to be. They have Kakin. The crowd is thinner here, near the wall bordering the alley. Izuku stops near a tall, gaunt man with wild blonde hair and jumps, hoping to see past the crowd. He does. It isn't something he wanted to see. Unbidden, tears well in his eyes, and he claps his hand over his mouth to stifle the sob that rips through his throat. No, someone in front of him shifts, and he now has a full view of the dark, mossy green sludge villain with its rolling yellow eyes and its maniacal grin. No, I thought. He was All Might. The villain swirls and moves and strains around the small, thrashing body it holds captive. If Izuku had been looking, he would have seen the blonde man look down at him with something like recognition and dawning horror flashing in his eyes. But he isn't looking. He doesn't see how the man grimaces and clutches his side, his grip on the light post tightening until his knuckles go white. He does see Kaken's wild eyes searching for something. Izuku doesn't know what. He does know that those eyes met his, and in them he sees fear. Fear is not something he wants to see in his friends. Can he even call Bakugo a friend? Eyes. It is something he has caught glimpses of now and again, but it has been 6 years since he had seen Kaken this overcome with fear. No, 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 I have to do something. I have to. He must have knocked the soda bottles loose when he crashed into All Might asking for his autograph. The second time he's seen Kaken scared, and of course it's his fault again. Young man, I don't know what you're thinking, but the pros can handle it. Izuku finally looks up into the skeletal face of the man next to him. The tears brimming in his eyes finally spill over, something the man is not expecting. Here, watch my bag, please. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Izuku says, dropping his bag at the man's feet before turning and sprinting through the crowd toward Kaken. He is through the safety line the pros made before he has a chance to think. The strike of each foot against the ground sends reverberations through his body, and someone is yelling at him, but he can't hear the words over the sound of his own heart in his ears. He spins past a fire before he realizes he has no plan. Wait. There are fires here. He nearly sobs in relief. He isn't useless. He can do something. His quirk, lovingly named Fire Pull by his mother, can only pull fire toward him. There is no power in him to push fire away or direct it, but that doesn't mean he can't trick it. The first time he propelled fire anywhere he had been 8 years old, and it had caused a horrible accident that he regrets to this day. It would be another 2 years before he had any semblance of control over where he could throw the flames. Even now, 6 years later, he only can really control small amounts of fire with any kind of confidence. That being said, the amount of fire he is now pulling to himself is no laughing matter. It is no candle flame that he can pull between his fingers to watch it dance. It is not a small handful of fire stolen from one of Kaken's explosions that he can comfortably spread between his fingers or even slingshot across a room if he wants. This is several bonfires that could consume him if given the chance. He pulls at all the fires behind him, his quirk tugging until he feels the air behind him get hot. He could probably get the best propulsion if he starts low, so he pulls the fire toward his knees. The fire runs on the ground after him like a blazing trail, licking at his heels and threatening to burn. Kaken. Izuku is almost close enough to touch the slime villain, and one of its rolling yellow eyes sees him and glares. Duck! He stops running and throws his hand in the air toward the slime villain's eyes and what he hopes is its head. And then he pulls. More specifically, he yanks the fire toward the very tips of his outstretched fingers. He feels the fire rushing over his back and he ducks his head, muffling a cry of pain when a tendril brushes too close to his neck. Just as the first of the flames reaches his fingers, he stops pulling and drops to the ground, rolling away from where the fire, lost in its own swirling momentum, continues upward in tears into the oozing flesh of the sludge monster. Izuku watches from his position, crouched low to the ground, as the villain howls and Bakugo breaks free from its hold long enough to gasp and cough and breathe. And he almost cries with relief, but then it has him again. One of its eyes is rolling dead on the ground as proof that Izuku had done any damage at all, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and now Kaken is suffocating again, and he wasn't enough. He pushes himself on his shaking feet and reaches again for the fire, but it's all wrong. It's all in the wrong directions, and if he pulls it to him, now he'll hit Kaken. He has to move, get to another side, and somehow get enough momentum to push that much fire at the villain again. His limbs are heavy. He forces himself to take a step, to move to another place in the alley where he can get some kind of advantage. Thick, cold tendrils of slime wrap around his wrists and ankles, locking him into place and dragging him toward the swirling mass of sludge. Distantly, he hears himself scream. He's still in the wrong place. The fire would hit Kakin. He would just as soon hurt him as he would the sludge villain, and he can't. Not again. Izuku's fingers rake uselessly through the slime as he tries to claw himself free. It's no use. All the work All Might had done to save him. And here he is getting himself and his classmate killed by the very same villain. Suddenly, All Might is there, and he yells something that Izuku doesn't quite hear, and then all he can feel is the wind as it rips through his hair and around his skin. That was a really stupid thing you did. You could have gotten seriously hurt. Izuku nods and tugs the blanket he was given tighter around himself. His legs kick absently from where he sits in the back of an ambulance. Kakin is being fussed over by a small team of paramedics across the way. There's burn cream and gauze on the burn on his neck, but other than that Izuku wasn't seriously injured, so here he is, being scolded by a man in a tan trench coat with short, dark hair. And I don't want to scold you too much, because the whole thing must have been traumatizing, especially with what All Might told us. The man sighs, but that was still horribly reckless. And we're all immensely grateful to you. Izuku looks up sharply, his mouth hanging slightly agape. He starts to splutter something, but the man laughs and cuts him off. Don't look so surprised. If you hadn't stepped in, your friend would probably be in significantly worse condition. He gestures to where Kakin is sitting. I'm not saying it was a smart, or hell, even legal, thing to do, but for what it's worth, we're glad you did it. Izuku looks down at his feet again, and the man pats him lightly on the shoulder. Just take better care of yourself in the future, okay? Izuku nods and almost misses when All Might, of all people, walks up to him. Sukachi, he isn't quite yelling, but Izuku is quickly realizing that All Might's default voice is pretty close to a yell. I hope you have not been scolding the boy too much. The man, Sukachi, forces a laugh, and Izuku misses the worried glance he throws in All Might's direction. Not as much as I expect his mother will. Izuku groans and buries his face in his hands. His mother is going to be so worried about him. My boy, All Might says, and Izuku looks up, realizing his idol is talking to him for the second time that day. We've met twice now under less than ideal circumstances, and I haven't had the chance to learn your name. Midoriya. His voice is shaking something awful, and isn't that just the best possible impression he could make? Midoriya, Izuku. Midoriya, my boy, for what it's worth I think you could make a great hero. Chapter 2. The One with Dagoba Beach. All things said and done, Izuku is exhausted. He collapses on the couch as soon as he and Mom get home, throwing his arm over his face and groaning dramatically. Are legal things always that long? He moans. Mom sighs, and he knows she isn't happy with him. Izuku. He winces at her voice. She hadn't scolded him while on scene. He knew she was more relieved that he was all right. But now they're home, and he is definitely safe, and he has just done something incredibly stupid. Mom, I know what you're going to say, and I just want. He can feel the tears welling in his eyes as he sits up to look at where Mom is standing next to the kitchen counter, looking to be very interested in her hands resting on the countertop. He swallows. I know it was stupid, and I know it was reckless, and I'm sore. He chokes. I'm sorry. Then why? She finally looks at him. Her eyes are red and her cheeks are wet with new and old tears. Why, Izuku? Did you? She fumbles over her words, a fresh batch of tears spilling from her eyes. Did you even think? He can only shake his head. No, he didn't think. But Mom, the thing. The villain. It almost killed me, and then it had Kakin. I couldn't just leave him there, Mom. He was so scared. His voice cracks. He was so scared, Mom. I couldn't. And then her arms are around him, and he clings to her and sobs, burying his face in the soft material of her sweater. Izuku, darling, she says once their crying has quieted, you are too selfless for your own good. One day I think it's going to get you hurt, so please. She pulls away from him, a hand on each of his shoulders, and looks into his tear-stained face. Please be careful. You're all I have. Crimson Riot, dude, is this you? Crimson Riot, Link. Small_might. i.e. partly. Small underscore might. In the idiot that ran in after, not one being strangled. Small underscore might. I mean, the slime guy did try to murk me, but that was earlier, and the news doesn't know that. Crimson Riot, bro. Crimson Riot. That's so manly. Crimson Riot. Terrifying as fuck probably, but I don't think IDV been able to run in like that, let alone try and fight the guy. Small underscore might. LSKFDJ thanks. He had to call his coaches and cancel practice. They were disappointed since competition season is in full swing, and depending on how things go in high school, this might be the last year Izuku will compete, but they were understanding under the circumstances. So now Izuku has the evening off and an absurd amount of nervous energy that he doesn't know what to do with. He rolls over on his bed to stare up at the ceiling. All Might said he could be a hero. He said that Izuku could make a great hero. Of course, going to Yui had always been his goal, but now it seems less like a distant goal and more like something attainable. Today has also been something of a wake-up call, too. Between Kakin telling him that he is useless without him, and then that being reinforced with the whole slime villain event, Izuku knows that he has a long way to go. It just means he'll have to work twice as hard. He glances at the clock and realizes with dismay that it's still far too early to go to bed. With a groan, he rolls off the bed and onto his feet and shuffles down the hall into the kitchen. He takes a seat at the counter and props his head up in his hands, which are entirely enveloped in the soft material of one of his favorite oversized All Might hoodies. Hi, Mom. And wow, his voice is significantly sleepier than he intended. She looks up at him and smiles and that's a good thing. Hello, Izuku. How are you feeling? The worry in her voice is very poorly disguised. Sleepy, but other than that I'm okay, he says, and it's true. He's been through a lot in the last 6 hours, but he is okay. Mom hums and continues drying the last of the dishes. Can we make cookies? His question must have surprised her, because Mom laughs and turns to look at him with an almost quizzical expression. That sounds like a great idea, honey. Get over here and start measuring the sugar while I finish putting these away. Izuku hops down from the bar stool and grabs a large mixing bowl and the sugar tub. He should probably wait until the event is less fresh in his mother's mind. But he's been mulling this over for too long now and honestly can't bear to keep quiet for much longer. Hey, Mom, he says, pouring the carefully measured sugar in the bowl and snapping the lid back onto the tub. She hums in response. You know how I want to apply to Yui? Izuku doesn't miss her sharp intake of breath. He freezes. It's something they have discussed, obviously, but her support of his decisions is very important to him, and he's worried that she's changed her mind in the last few hours. Yes? What about it? She's not objecting yet. That's a good thing. A very good thing. I think I need to get stronger. He hears her start to protest and turns around to look at her. My quirk is good. It's wonderful, really, but I don't really have good control of it. And today, I could have done so much more. He shakes his head, staring hard at his feet. This isn't what he wanted to say. I was really lucky today, Mom. Really lucky. I only burned the back of my neck, but it could have been a lot worse. If I'm going to get into Yui, if I'm going to be a hero, I need to make sure I don't hurt myself with my own quirk, right? So I need to get stronger. He looks up at Mom, and her eyes are glistening with tears. Izuku, her voice quivers, and it's all he can do to keep from crying with her. I want to disagree with you. I want to keep you home and keep you safe, but I can't. She puts down the plate she was holding and wipes her eyes on her sleeve. I'll help you get stronger, Izuku. What can I do? Izuku grins and throws his arms around her. Thank you, Mom. You're the best. She laughs and pushes him off of her. I know. Make your cookies, boy. He grabs the sugar bin from the counter and puts it away before grabbing the butter out of the fridge. So I was thinking, I need somewhere safe to practice using my quirk, right? Somewhere where I won't put other people in danger. So it needs to be out of the way, and it probably needs to be somewhere that there isn't a whole lot of flammable stuff, and I probably need a lot of room to move around. You'll also need somewhere where you can easily put out any fires you make, Mom says, totally unfazed by Izuku's storm of muttering. So somewhere open where there aren't a lot of people. Izuku hums thoughtfully as he grabs the hand mixer to cream the butter and sugars together. Mom cracks a couple eggs into the bowl once he turns the mixer off. What about Dagoba Beach? She asks. Dagoba? Isn't that the place where everyone dumps their trash? Mom nods. Get the flour, I'll mix this. And yes, it is. If you cleared an area, you'd have a ring to practice, and you would be close enough to the water that any fires you start won't be a big deal. Izuku stops and stares into the middle distance, his nose wrinkling. Wow, that could work. Mom smacks him lightly on the arm, laughing. Surprised your silly old mom could come up with a decent idea? Izuku laughs with her. No, I just never would have thought of it. It's a really good idea. Nobody goes to Dagoba. I'd be totally alone. Saturday morning I'll pick you up from practice, and we can drive down there and scope it out. Does that sound good? Izuku grins. Nothing has ever sounded better. Mom signed him up for gymnastics when he was 6 years old because he still has, far more energy than she could deal with, and she hoped it would give him something to do. Izuku loved it. He still loves it. If he wasn't so hell-bent on being a hero, Izuku thinks he could try his luck at being a professional gymnast. He's no prodigy, but 8 years of hard, enthusiastic work pays off. His coaches think he could be competing at a national level next year and debut on the international stage by his senior year of high school. This is the last year that he's sure he'll be able to compete. Next year is a little iffy, since competition season runs February through May, and by May he'll be in high school and hopefully in Yui's hero course, so he isn't sure how much time he'll have to give to his childhood passion. So for now he's throwing himself into practice, hoping to give the last year his best effort yet. Not that he wasn't giving his best effort into all the other competitions, but this is different. His best events are floor and vault. According to Chie, he was also a natural at the balance beam, but she'd said it through tears of laughter the one time she forced him to try. So he's skeptical, but if he can get the high bar routine down, he wants to try for the all-around medal in his upcoming competition. His coaches think he has a fighting chance. He's outstanding in a few of the events, and pretty good at rings and the parallel bars, and if he can manage not to botch the high bar, he'll be set. Easier said than done, he thinks from where he lies on the mat under the high bar, staring up at the ceiling. He's completely covered in chalk from all the times he's fallen trying to get this routine down. Everything hurts. He's pretty sure his hair is actually dripping with sweat. He pushes himself into a sitting position, and nope, his hair is quite literally dripping. That was better, Midoriya, but I still fell. Izuku hums, finishing his Okada-sensei's sentence. What do you think you're doing wrong? I'm not fast enough. It's like, by the time I see the bar again, it's too late and I can't catch it. So what are you going to do about it? His coach pats him on the shoulder. Take some time and think about it. You're probably too tired right now to make much a difference. You'll just end up hurting yourself. Izuku groans as he stands up. He's probably going to be sporting a few nasty bruises, but what's new? Certainly not that. He rolls his shoulders, popping his back. He's going to be sore too. He can feel it. Mom is waiting outside for him when he finishes cleaning himself off and packing his bag. Are you ready to hit the beach? Izuku grins. As I'll ever be. Dagoba isn't far from where they live, and they drive for maybe 10 minutes before Mom pulls into a small parking lot near the overlook where the garbage starts to pile up. It's worse than I thought it would be. Izuku moans, climbing out of the car and staring at the literal rolling hills of garbage. I thought you wanted to be a hero? Mom says. Now come on, let's see if we can pick our way through this. I wore my good shoes and everything. Izuku groans again for good measure, but follows his mom with more eagerness than he's felt in years. This is kind of an adventure, after all. A stinky, gross adventure. But Izuku is a teenage boy, and scaling the mountains of garbage is almost making him forget how tired he is. Don't forget what we're here for. Mom calls after him, laughing at his antics. Yeah, I know, he yells back, pulling himself onto the top of a rather precarious pile of metal odds and ends. He squints against the sun and scans the horizon. I see a spot. He yells. There's a kind of cove over there by the ocean. Hold on. He scrambles down, careful not to dislodge anything. I think there's a path if we go through here. Mom follows him as he picks a path through the garbage until his feet hit the sand next to the ocean. He spreads his arms out and turns back to face Mom, who is admiring the location. What do you think? She hums, hands on her hips. The area is still totally swamped in garbage, but it's reined in on 3 sides by over large hills of garbage, and the fourth side by the ocean. It's like a little valley, and there is surprisingly little on the actual valley floor. It shouldn't take more than a few days to clear a large enough space to work. I think this looks great. I can rent a trailer to hook up to the car, and we can pull the garbage you move to the dump, she says. Izuku laughs. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you roped me into this as some kind of community cleanup project. Mom laughs with him. Who says I didn't? She smacks him on the shoulder. Come on. The day is still young. I'll go rustle up a trailer and some lunch while you get started. We're starting now? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I know. Izuku sighs and rolls his shoulders against the ache that's already setting in. He's going to have to ask Mom to check for bruises on his back. He beat himself up pretty good today. Well, let's do it. The sun is already far too hot, and it's not quite noon. Izuku can't imagine what hell the summer months are going to bring. No matter, heat training is supposed to be good for you. Yeah, sure, it's the most miserable kind of training, but somebody on the internet said it was good, so it must be true, right? Actually, his coaches said that too, dang. Either way, by the time Mom gets back with the trailer and lunch, he is drenched in sweat and very thankful that he hadn't decided to change out of his loose, lightweight gym clothes. 8 years of gymnastics hasn't left him lacking in the strength department, but he is quickly realizing that the muscles used for rings and the muscles needed to haul somebody's microwave across the beach are very different. Functional strength, Mom yells, pumping her fist into the air when he practically collapses after dropping said microwave into the trailer. He groans, dropping his head onto the fence-like barrier edging the trailer with an audible clank that he will definitely regret later. Oh, don't be like that, Izuku. We're trying to make you into a hero, after all. He groans again, and Mom only laughs. They work into the evening, and then come back on Sunday to do the same thing. By Monday morning, Izuku is sore everywhere, and they have hardly made a dent in the seemingly endless piles of garbage. This is going to take a lot longer than he thought it would. Fortunately, there are 9 months until the entrance exam. That's plenty of time to get the area cleared that he wanted and practice until he is a master of his quirk. Unfortunately, he is only human, and that means he has to crawl through time in a linear and very slow fashion that's already leaving him disgruntled and vaguely frustrated. Too bad he can't just skip to the fun part. Too bad. The next few weeks pass in a similar fashion. School, then beach, then practice, then homework, then sleep. Sometimes he takes early morning runs down to the beach and hauls a few pieces closer to the pickup spot so he can load a full trailer as soon as Mom arrives for the afternoon. He hurts everywhere, and at first it made practice into 2 hours of hell, but he's slowly starting to notice a difference. His coaches are too. He can hold positions for longer. He has more power on his vault. He can finally hold a neutral face on the rings instead of looking constipated. I don't know what you're doing, but it's certainly paying off, his coach says, slapping him on the back as he cleans up one evening. Keep up the good work, and you'll wipe the floor with the other kids. Izuku chuckles and mumbles a thanks, but glares at the high bar as he walks out of the building. The competition is a week away, and Izuku feels like he's trying to be the protagonist in 2 different animes. On the one hand, this is his last year in competitive gymnastics, and his high bar routine is spotty at best. He's gearing up for the finale of a sports anime, and his nerves are absolutely destroying him. On the other hand, he's the plucky underdog protagonist of some high school drama who's studying. All this physical stuff counts as studying. He's trying to get into UE after all, to get in and usurp the #1 place from the asshole kid who's got it made. But it's still the first few episodes of this anime, and he can feel the tension from the mid-season arcs mounting while he's struggling through the lead-up to the series finale of the other one. A weird metaphor maybe, but he'll stand by it. Competitions always leave him in a weird headspace. He knows that he doesn't tend to process things until several hours, sometimes days, after the fact. He actually didn't process the whole sludge villain event until sometime on Sunday night, when he completely broke down sobbing on the beach. Luckily, Mom was there, and she talked him through the panic before taking him home and wrapping him in soft blankets and feeding him copious amounts of hot chocolate. So naturally, he doesn't actually register that he's at the competition until halfway through or even after it ends. He almost counts it as a blessing, since it keeps the nerves from getting to him too terribly. Doesn't mean he's not nervous, though. A couple of his gym mates wish him luck as they all get ready in the locker room, and Izuku smiles and wishes them the same. He and Chie are the only two from their gym trying for all-around medals, and in all honesty, Izuku is very thankful he doesn't have to compete against her. Chie could wipe the floor with him any day of the week. They file through Quirk registry, and Chie elbows him in the ribs. You'll do great. Just stay out of your head. You mess up when you overthink things, so don't do it. Izuku scoffs. Thanks, you're really helpful. Chie laughs and wipes fake tears from her eyes. Speaking with you is a pleasure. As always, Mr. Midoriya. She sighs and readjusts her shoulder bag. Really though, especially with the high bar routine, stop thinking so hard. She hums. Actually, you're Quirk. You can pull fire to separate parts of your body, right? Izuku throws her a quizzical glance. Yes. I've seen you play with candle flames on your fingers. You're just pulling the flame between your fingers, right? Izuku nods, and she continues, her glittery makeup reflecting in the bright lights of the stadium. That's got to be a really complicated process. Don't shake your head at me. There's no way it's not. Anyway, you don't think about it, do you? Not while you're doing it. Just think of it like that. Like you're pulling the bar to whatever part of your body. She punches him in the arm. The bar is part of you just as much as all that fire is, Mr. Flashy Quirk. Izuku must look like he's having some kind of crisis, because she laughs at him. I shouldn't have said that. You're just going to overthink it now, aren't you? No, I'm not. He splutters. Chill, it's fine. Go get Izuku. I'll see you in the medal ceremony. Chie blows him a kiss and turns on her heel to where her friends from a different middle school gymnastics team are gathering. He shakes his head to snap himself out of his trance and finds a place to keep his stuff while he warms up. He is going to miss Chie when he quits. Not that she would ever agree to drop contact with him. There are far too many late-night text conversations between them for that. It is going to be different once they stop seeing each other every day, though. Izuku isn't sure what her plans for high school are, but she said that she's definitely going on in gymnastics, so they're going to have to part ways at some point. Maybe she'll make it to the Olympics. Izuku would love to see that. Next up, Midoriya Izuku. 14 years old and representing an independent gym in Mizutofu. Izuku is definitely not a new face at this competition. He took gold and silver on the floor and vault last year, but this is the first time we see him competing for the all-around awards. His scores already are impressive, but his coaches have said that the high bar is a sticking point for him. We've never seen him compete in this event, but he seems to have the crowd on his side. The blood roars in his ears until he can hear nothing else. This is it. One shot to make or break him. His arms are burning as he launches himself in the air. He closes his eyes, the world spinning around him. His hair whips around his face in an imaginary wind. The bar is as much a part of me as a fire. Something inside him pulls, and his hands burn as they make contact with the bar. Chie jumps, throwing her fist in the air as she yells something she won't remember later. She can't stop smiling, turning to one of her school friends and shaking them. He did it, he did it, he did it. Izuku is grinning as he lands. His foot slips, and he stumbles, barely. That'll cost him a few points, but as he rights himself and waves to the crowd, he can't bring himself to care. He practically bounces off of the mat and into the waiting arms of his coaches. They don't care that he's drenched in sweat and chalk as they hug, picking him up to swing him around. He's laughing. He knows he is, but that isn't stopping the tears from falling, either. Chie pushes her way in and squeezes another laugh out of him. It was far from a perfect routine, but he is still in the game. He ends up getting a personal best on the vault, something that was not lightly celebrated at the time, and will certainly warrant both a gym-wide party as well as a quieter, possibly pancake-themed, celebration with Mom. And it's enough to win him first in that event. He performs well enough on still rings, parallel bars, and pommel horse to keep him in the all-around competition, but not well enough to place. He's first in floor again. It's his second consecutive win in that event, and he couldn't be happier. He watches tearfully as Chie accepts her gold medal for the women's all-around. He really wishes he could say that he holds his composure when he is awarded bronze for the men's all-around, but he cries like a baby, and saying anything other than that would be blasphemous. His 3 medals hang around his neck, and he's still drying his tears when Mom runs down from the stands and congratulates him. Needless to say, the waterworks start up all over again. It's his last middle school competition, possibly his last competition ever. He couldn't be happier about how it turned out. A week after the competition, Izuku decides the area he has cleared is large enough to start Quirk training. He takes his usual morning jog down to Dagoba Beach. Running there had become something of a habit, but instead of pulling car doors out of the sand, he collects a decent amount of dry wood from the surrounding forest areas and builds a fire in the sand. He stands a couple feet away from it and stares at it. It stares back. Where does he even start? He's supposed to be training his Quirk, he knows this, but he has no idea what to do. Biting his tongue, he holds out his hand and tries something. He assumed that he could only pull fire to him at one speed, but when he saved Kakin from the sludge villain, he somehow managed to keep the fire behind him. It should have caught up to him and burned him long before he reached the villain. But it didn't. So maybe he can pull fire to him at different speeds? He tugs gently on his Quirk, and the fire flickers toward him briefly but doesn't come. He tries again, pulling just a little bit harder. A flame pulls away and starts dancing in the air toward him. His eyes widen. He hadn't really expected that to work. In his surprise, he loses control and the flame comes rocketing toward him. No shit shit. He spins, his arm outstretched and pulling the flames toward his fingertips. The stream of fire zips around him, and he feels the heat of the flames far too close for comfort. He releases his Quirk once he's facing the fire again, and his hand is pointed in that general direction. The stream of fire still whips around him, but the leading end zips past his hand and crashes into the sand next to the makeshift fire pit. The sand extinguishes the fire, and Izuku is left panting, but with the beginnings of an idea brewing in his mind. He had given momentum to the fire by spinning. He hadn't moved from this spot, and he had propelled the fire with relative accuracy. And well, Izuku is a gymnast after all. 30 minutes later, Izuku is very well acquainted with the fact that sand makes an awful launch pad. There is no traction, no bounce. It absorbs everything he could put into a jump, making takeoffs near impossible. Not to mention the fact that it just slips out from under him. He has landed on his ass more times in the last half hour than he has in years. He has a lot of work to do, and maybe he should clear a slightly bigger area? The maneuverability would be nice, but he has somewhere to start, and that's what matters. Professional Yike, I saw AM today. This is surreal. Why is he still in Mizutofu? Professional Yike, I feel like I'm living in a weird fever dream. Small_might, tell me about it. Small_might, I was scouting out a local skirmish the other day. Small_might, and he was just. Small_might, there? Small_might at Best Gnas, is this how you were living? Best Gnas, LOL yeah. Small_might, how did you live? Small_might, he waved at me and I nearly exploded on the spot. Professional Yike, he waved at you? Professional Yike, and you didn't tell me? Professional Yike, that's it, I'm revoking your friend card. Best Gnas, S, lacked fast jasselj. Small_might, no? Take me back. D. The rest of June passes in a very routine manner. Mornings are still for a jog that inevitably ends up at the beach. He'll move as much garbage as he can before he has to head home for school, and immediately after school, he's at the beach moving garbage again. The area he has is big enough now, but it's kind of therapeutic in a weird way. And Izuku would be lying if he said he isn't secretly thrilled with the additional muscle mass he's gaining in the process. He has a pretty good idea of how much he can fit in the trailer, and the time between when he finishes amassing a single load and when mom shows up, he practices using his Quirk. He bought a pair of fire-resistant gloves a while back when he burned his hand badly enough to warrant a trip to the doctor. When mom shows up, he loads the trailer and has just enough time to run across town to the gym for practice. Competition season is over, but that just means practices have turned to technique and conditioning, which is no less rigorous. It also means that he and Shia can work side by side for a while, which is always nice. He takes the train home from practice and eats dinner with mom before spending the rest of the evening doing homework. It's exhausting, but Izuku couldn't be happier. July comes with end-of-term exams, and for middle school third years, the realization that hell season is almost upon them. Namely, high school entrance exam season. Technically, the exams won't start for another 6 months, but everyone knows that studying hell will begin once fall term starts in August. It's all anyone can talk about. Where are you applying? Chia asks, taking a swig from her water bottle. I can't believe I've never asked you. Izuku laughs. I can't believe I've never told you. I'm applying to Yui. He sees Chia's eyes widen, and he rubs the back of his neck, sheepish. I want to get into the heroics department. It's always been my dream. He trails off, watching Chia wave her hands wildly in the space between them. She composes herself just long enough to swallow her mouth full of water. Yui, Izuku, that's so cool. She punches him in the shoulder. You'll be the star of the school. I can see it now. She throws an arm around his shoulder and holds her hands in front of them, fingers splayed wide. Midoriya Izuku, rising gymnast who decided beating villains up was more important than back-flipping to victory on the stadium floor. She's cackling when Izuku pushes her off of him. For your information, I'm going to be back-flipping to victory regardless of whether or not I become a hero, he says, grinning, which only makes her laugh harder. Her wild laughter cuts off as she gasps, her eyes going wide. What if I go to Yui? She claps her hands to either side of her face like she's found the answer to life, the universe, and everything. I thought you didn't want to be a hero? Izuku splutters. I don't. She grabs him by the shoulders and shakes him. I'm talking about the gymnastics here. The gymnastics? Does Yui even have a gymnastics club? I don't know, but if not, I'm going to make one. Don't give me that face, Izuku. Just imagine it. She clasps her hands under her chin, eyes gleaming. There are so many athletic people there. We'd be unstoppable. Roll into competitions with my midnight leotard, snap my Gucci shades. The perfect image of intimidation. Everyone is quaking in fear. All Might is there. She sighs and wipes a fake tear. In a perfect world. Izuku can't help but laugh, and she glares at him. He throws his hands up in mock surrender. No, I totally agree, that would be amazing. Damn right it would. Izuku laughs again before their coaches call them back onto the floor. It's on a Saturday evening in late July and a week into summer break when Izuku decides to take his quirk training to the next step. He has a pretty good grasp on it functionally. Now, he can pull the fire at different speeds to different parts of his body, and his methods of propulsion are growing every day, as is his accuracy. He actually directed a stream of fire into the ground hard enough to melt some of the sand, and he stood there gawking for far too long after. His best jump propulsion uses an aerial, essentially a cartwheel without touching your hands to the ground, where he directs the fire with his feet. The day when he had directed an entire bonfire from one fire pit to another using an aerial was an excellent day. That being said, many of the things he can do are still impractical. Sure, it's cool and potentially useful for disaster relief, but a villain isn't going to sit around waiting for him to get enough momentum to do half the things he can do. Thus, he needs some practical way to use his quirk. So, he spends the entire night researching, like you do. For hours of YouTube videos, 8 Wikipedia pages, and who knows how many Google searches later, Izuku has an answer. He stands outside the dojo. It probably isn't a dojo, considering it's Chinese. What's the word, then? And gathers the courage to knock. The man that answers had long, graying hair tied back in a neat bun and a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard. He narrows his eyes when he sees Izuku, obviously suspicious. Dai Jinghua? Izuku asks, desperately praying he has the right person. And who are you? Dai's voice is heavily accented, and he shifts his weight so he is leaning against the doorframe. Midoriya Izuku, sir. Izuku bows, trying to force his hands to stop shaking. And what do you want? I want you to teach me. Dai scoffs. It's almost a laugh. You want to learn from me? I'm an old exiled monk. I can't teach you karate or whatever is native to this area. I only know the northern Shaolin techniques. That's why I want to learn from you, Izuku blurts. I did a lot of research, and it all led me to you. He bows again, at the hip, hoping it conveys his sincerity. Please, sir, you're the only one who can help me. Dai is quiet, and Izuku fears the worst. Midoriya Izuku. Was it? There is almost a laughter in his voice. Stand up. I'll teach you. Jinghua-sensei is ruthless, and Kung Fu is way harder than Izuku had given it credit for. He had insisted Izuku use his given name, but that doesn't mean he goes easy on Izuku in any way, shape, or form. Thankfully, years of gymnastics pay off in his dexterity and strength, but those are the only things he is going for him. Kung Fu is hard. But when Izuku runs to the beach in the evenings, he finds, to his utter delight, that the moves Jingwa-sensei is teaching him are perfect to direct the fire. With his gloves on, he can catch handfuls of fire in each hand, and even just doing warm-up stances direct that fire around his body and then away to increasingly accurate targets. Summer passes all too quickly, and Izuku has never felt more ready to tackle the UE entrance exam. He had to quit gymnastics when he started under Jingwa-sensei. Money is tight enough already. He didn't want to burden Mom with anything else, and Chie is understandably upset with him. They go to different middle schools, so she whined about never seeing him again until he invites her to run with him in the mornings. He's never had a running partner before, and he's got to admit, it's really quite nice. It does cut into his morning garbage removal time, but in all honesty, he doesn't really need it anymore. If the beach gets any cleaner, he knows it's going to start attracting tourists, and the whole reason he chose Dagoba is because no one goes there. The start of fall term also means that he has to deal with Kaken again, and Izuku is not ready. He's not really afraid that Kaken will hurt him. There's not a lot he can do, and even if he just comes at Izuku with his fists, Izuku now has enough training to deflect him, if nothing else. But that doesn't mean that he isn't exhausting to be around. It also doesn't mean that any of Izuku's fear responses are aware that Kaken can't hurt him. Honestly, that's far worse than anything Kaken himself could throw at him. He can run from bullies forever, but there's no escaping his own mind. Don't even get him started on the guilt he feels every time he sees the scar on Kaken's face. Kaken seems to be pointedly ignoring him, though, and Izuku thanks his lucky stars. He's more than happy to sit complacently in the back of the classroom, minding his own business. The work is hard, and Izuku quickly falls back into the school-time routine. September bleeds into October, bleeds into November, and well, these entrance exams aren't going to study for themselves. Izuku isn't universally liked by the people in his middle school, far from it, in fact, but he's pleasant enough to be around and has good grades, so he finds himself sucked into a small study group. He invites Chie to join, and soon there are 5 or 6 of them that meet in the park in the afternoons to study with each other. It's fun, in a weird way. He knows that none of these people would ever speak to him under any other circumstances, but Izuku has the best grades in the class, second to Kaken, and they're probably taking advantage of that. He doesn't really mind. Leading these study groups is helping him as well, and the illusion of having so many friends is kind of nice. At least he's got Chie. Obviously, it is all too good to be true, or at least, too good to last. Kaken corners him. It's Tuesday on the last week of school in December. School is out for the day, fall term is almost over, and there's only a month until the UE entrance exam. Deku. Izuku can hear the sneer in his voice before he sees it, and turns around just in time for Kaken's signature right hook. He stumbles backwards a few steps, rubbing his jaw. Kaken stands over him, several inches taller, and seethes, but doesn't move to attack him again. "I know what you're doing," he spits. Izuku blinks. "I what?" "Don't think I haven't seen you." Kaken tenses like he wants to attack Izuku again, but doesn't. "We live on the same fucking street. Deku, I see you every fucking day. Training, or whatever you want to call it." Izuku opens his mouth to argue. "Don't you dare fucking speak, shitty Deku," Kaken hisses, stepping forward into Izuku's space. He shrinks away, out of habit, trying to make himself look as small as possible. "I don't care what you do, you'll never make it." "You're wrong." The words slip out of Izuku's mouth before he has time to stop them. "Well, too late now. Go big or go home, right? I'm going to make it into Yui." Kaken laughs. Actually laughs. His posture relaxes and he steps back, hands strung loosely in his pockets. "Good luck with that, Deku. I don't care how much training you think you've done. You're useless without me, and you know it." He turns and saunters away, leaving Izuku biting his lip and trying not to cry. Kaken is right. He's right, and Izuku hates that. Chapter 3. The one with the entrance exam. Izuku is out of bed before 6 on exam day. He meets Chie for a run, hoping it will calm him down, but all her enthusiasm and pep talks fall useless on his scattered nerves. It would probably be worse if there wasn't a large portion of his brain telling him that this isn't real, but that doesn't make the nerves non-existent. And he's still a mess when he gets off the train and walks toward the towering glass building that is UE High School. He stops under the massive archway and sucks in a deep breath. This is it. This is happening. It isn't. No way. Can't be. His first step into the UE threshold is thwarted when he promptly trips over his own feet and dives face first into the cement. This is it. This is how I die. There's a light touch on his back, and somehow he never hits the ground. I'm so sorry. I should have asked before I used my quirk, but I didn't want you to fall. Someone behind him says, her voice high and far too chipper, considering the circumstances. It's fine. Izuku stammers. The feeling of weightlessness is honestly very odd. Here, just put your feet under you. Sorry, I'm going to grab your arm, she says, and sure enough there's a hand on his arm, swinging him so he is mostly upright again. And release. Gravity returns to him rather suddenly, and his feet hit the ground, causing him to stumble a bit. Thanks. Is that your quirk? He asks, turning to finally look at the girl. She's not much shorter than him, with light brown hair and a round face. She's really cute, honestly, and Izuku feels himself flush. Thankfully, she doesn't notice, or just doesn't care, because she nods eagerly and falls into step with him as they walk toward the school. It is. I can negate the gravity on any object that I touch with all 5 fingers. Although, I've got kind of a weight limit, and if I go over it I get nauseous, she says, almost sheepish. That's so cool, Izuku exclaims, perhaps too loudly. Can you float any object? Can you use your quirk on more than one thing at a time? She laughs. Yes and yes. Or at least, I haven't found anything yet that's immune to my quirk. She blushes. And you think it's cool? It's a mutant quirk. My parents' quirks are nothing like it, and it's always made me feel a little weird. Not weird at all. It's really awesome. You'll make a great hero. She beams at him before waving goodbye. It was nice talking to you. I told someone I'd meet them here, so I'm going to go do that. But good luck. She practically bounces away into the crowd. You too, he calls after her. Hopefully all the people here will be as nice as her. Well, they can't all be. Kaken is around here somewhere, after all. He makes his way into the school and follows the signs and crowd. Yikes, there are a lot of people here to take the entrance exam, into a huge auditorium. He finds a seat next to a boy with wild purple hair and dark circles under his eyes large enough they should probably start paying rent. He doesn't look up when Izuku sits next to him, and Izuku assumes he isn't the talkative type. That's okay. They're here to take a test after all. He doesn't need to make friends with every person he sees, even if he would like to. A few minutes later, the auditorium goes dark and Present Mike steps onto the center stage, bellowing a hello that's loud enough that Izuku finds himself covering his ears. Mike probably wasn't even using his quirk either, judging by the shit-eating grin on his face. The boy next to him grumbles something, and Izuku can't help but agree, even if he has no idea what the guy said. Mike explains that they'll all be assigned a classroom room to take the written portion of the exam, and then split into different groups and assigned a battleground for the practical portion, which is only for heroics applicants. This will be the only chance some of you have to take any kind of test inside UE walls, so relish it. For the others, get used to it. You'll spend 3 years taking all sorts of tests here. Izuku snorts, earning him a glare or two from the people around him. Mike goes on to explain that the practical exam will involve fighting robots at different point values, and that they need to amass as many points as possible in 10 minutes. It doesn't sound too bad, actually. Izuku knows that he can direct fire with enough force to at least dent, and sometimes blow holes in metal, so it shouldn't be terribly hard to take out a few robots. Next to him, the purple-haired boy curses. As they file out of the auditorium, they're all given slips of paper with a room number and a battleground and instructions that the written exam will start in 20 minutes. So go to the restroom now. We promise you'll need it. Izuku falls into step with the purple-haired boy. He gives Izuku a weird look. What do you want? That is an excellent question. Izuku shrugs. Which room are you in? The boy still looks very suspicious of him, but glances down at his paper. 2E. Ah darn, I'm in 2C. They'll probably be in the same hallway. We can walk together? Izuku lets the end of his sentence turn up, in case the boy doesn't want to walk with him. He shoves his hands into his pockets, but doesn't reject the offer. I'm Midoriya Izuku, by the way. Shinso Hitoshi, he mutters. Are you applying for the heroics department? It's a fair question. They had already passed several people who were definitely support kids. Well, I was. Shinso sounds bitter. Very bitter. I have a psychological quirk, though. It's not going to do fucking anything against robots. He kicks the ground. So, I'm just going to get into general studies and beat everyone at the sports festival, so they have to move me up. Izuku hums. The practical exam really isn't fair, is it? Shinso snorts, and Izuku can't help but smile. Well, I think you'll be great. Shinso is still looking at his feet. Thanks, I guess. You're trying for heroics. Yeah, I also applied for general studies, so if I don't pass the practical, I'll see you there. If you pass the written exam, is Shinso smirking at him? Oh, Shinso is definitely smirking at him. Izuku crosses his arms defensively. Excuse you, sir. Shinso almost laughs. This is your stop, he says, looking up at the large 2C next to the door. Good luck. You too. Izuku calls after him as Shinso keeps walking down the hallway toward 2E. He hopes everything turned out okay for him. He seems like an alright guy. The written exam is, by no means, easy. But Izuku studied well, and by the end of it, he feels confident enough. Now he just has the practical test standing between him and, well, victory. High school acceptance. Whatever. His testing group is gathering outside the battleground for the practical portion. The battleground is basically, from what he can see from outside the huge cement walls, a small city. Probably fully functional too, knowing Yui. He's warming up, jogging in small circles and stretching, scanning the crowd for anyone he knows. Looks like Kaken isn't in his group. Izuku doesn't know how to feel about that. The girl with the gravity quirk is here, though. He never got her name. He starts walking over to where she is warming up to ask her and wish her luck when there's a hand on his shoulder. What do you think you're doing? Izuku flinches and turns around to see a very tall, very stern-looking boy. He's probably twice the size of Izuku, and he looks like he could crush him with his little pinky. Izuku swallows nervously. I was just... Can't you see that she's concentrating? Were you intending to mess her up, to reduce the competition for you? Good lord, this guy is intimidating. Izuku shrinks. I wasn't, I swear. He's cut off by Present Mick's booming voice. The exam has started. What are you all doing standing around for? Sure enough, Izuku turns and the gates to the city have opened. Everyone around him is running and Izuku is nearly tramped before he can turn to run into the fake city. He ends up at the back of the crowd, and by the time he's past the concrete walls, most everyone has dispersed through the city, which, speaking of, looks so much bigger from the inside. It's honestly a little intimidating. He only realizes that he's stopped moving when someone behind him runs into his shoulder, jarring him forward a step. He blinks, shaking himself out of his trance, and starts running down one of the many twisted, branching streets. How many minutes has he wasted now? 1? 2. He needs to find a robot soon, preferably several robots. Luck must be on his side, because as he skids around a corner, he comes face to face with a 2-point robot. Villain, whatever they are supposed to call them. The point is that there is one right in front of him, and it is clearly targeting him. Izuku shifts into a fighting stance and pulls on his quirk, a grin breaking out on his face. Nothing happens. He pulls harder, his grin turning into a pained snarl. Surely there has to be someone in this group who is a fire user. The whole point is to destroy robots. There has to be at least an electrical fire somewhere in the area. The villain is almost on him, raising one metallic arm to bring down on his head. It swings, and Izuku rolls out of the way, gritting his teeth against the tears that were fighting their way to the surface. This is no time to cry, damn it. The villain turns, targeting him again. He needs to find some way to beat this thing. Not even for the exam, just because he doesn't want to die here. It's got to have a weak spot, but all Izuku has are his bare fists, and he knows they aren't going to do a lot against metal. He's been training under Jingwa-sensei for about 6 months now, and he knows that he's gotten stronger, but there's a huge difference between I am strong for a 15-year-old boy and I am strong enough to punch this robot and have it do anything. Unfortunately, Izuku does not fall on the latter portion of the spectrum. He should have just sucked it up and brought a lighter. Yeah, they don't really help him, but even a tiny flame is better than nothing. Even if bringing in support items is against the rules, at least he wouldn't be facing an imminent death. He rolls to dodge the robot as it swipes again, his knees scraping against the concrete. He's considering running. He doesn't know how fast this thing is, when a blinding white light tears through his line of sight, and the villain in front of him. The robot clatters to the ground, revealing a blond boy sporting a flowy silk shirt and some kind of holier-than-thou smile. "Thanks for keeping it distracted for me," he says, an accent clouding his voice. French? Spanish? Izuku never was good with Latin languages. He turns and runs off, and Izuku steps around the robot to run after him. How many minutes has it been? 5? 6? The back of his throat is still burning. It will be a while before it stops. But some part of him has resigned himself to failure. He can't help but think that if he and Bakugo were in the same testing group, that this whole thing would be very different. He would stand a chance then. Not now. Not when he has a quirk that's dependent on other people. Kaken is right. He's always going to be dependent on other people, borrowing their success. A parasite. He bites his tongue as the first few tears spill from his eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen. He's trained so hard. Izuku 8 months ago was weak and scared and could never make it into Yui. Now he was so much stronger and so much more confident in himself, and he had poured blood, sweat, and tears into finding a way to use his quirk. He was ready. Or he was supposed to be. Turns out, regardless of how many fancy ways he figured out to use quirk, it's still the most useless fire quirk there is. He breaks out of the alley he was running through to find what has to be the main street of this miniature city. It has been absolutely decimated. The sparking remains of robots litter the ground, and all around him kids are taking them out like it is child's play. In front of him, the stern guy with dark hair and glasses and engines in his legs jumps and crumples a 3-point robot with his extended foot. He brushes himself off, mumbles 45, and runs off toward another active robot. 45? Izuku is further behind than he thought. There's still not a flame in sight, so he couldn't get a point even if he hadn't resigned himself to failure. Oh well, 3 minutes and 1 rejection letter and it'll all be over. That's what he tells himself. The ground shakes under his feet, someone screams, and the sky goes dark. Everyone is screaming now as the mass of people turn and run. Izuku looks up, and oh good lord, the picture Mike showed them of the 0-point villain really didn't convey the size of this thing. He has half a mind to turn and run like everyone around him. But then something catches his eye and he's both really happy and really unhappy that he has seen this. The girl with the anti-gravity quirk is trapped under some rubble or a robot or something. Regardless of what it is, she can't move and she can't twist herself around to use her quirk, and the huge 0-pointer is lumbering toward her, and oh god, she's going to get crushed. She's going to get crushed, and there's nothing Izuku can do. This isn't like when he ran in after Kaken. This isn't a liquid-based villain surrounded by raging fires. This is a huge, hulking robot, and there isn't a flame in sight. Izuku is totally powerless. He's totally powerless, but he still has to do something. He can't let her die. The boy with the glasses and the engines in his legs is about to run past him. He's fast. His quirk is obviously built for speed, but he's not going as fast as he can, and Izuku has adrenaline on his side. He catches up and grabs the boy's sleeve. He stops, thankfully, and tries to bat Izuku's hand away. "What are you doing? Are you trying to mess me up too?" He sounds so angry, and Izuku's heart is weak right now. There's a girl. He points frantically toward where the 0-point villain is. She's trapped, and that thing is going to crush her. "Please, you're the only one who can help." His voice cracks, and he knows he's crying again. "P, please. You can't just leave her." The boy looks over Izuku's head, and he must see where the girl is because his eyes steel. He drops his sleeve, and the boy takes off toward the 0-point villain. Izuku is frozen to the spot, watching with horror and hope through vision blurred by tears. The boy is sprinting towards the villain. At the last second, the light from his engines glows brighter, distantly. Izuku wonders if he could pull the fire from his engines. It's worth a shot at some point, and he jumps, kicking the thing in one of its legs. The leg folds and buckles as the robot tries desperately to stay upright. The boy is already at the girl's side, pulling the rubble off of her and gathering her into his arms before running back toward where Izuku is standing. The villain creaks and groans above them before beginning to fall forward. It's falling toward them, and clearly they have both realized this. But he is slowing down, and if they don't do something quickly, they will both be crushed. Over the din, Izuku hears her yell, "Throw me," and the boy launches her into the air. She rockets upward, coming face to face with quickly toppling beast. She slaps it across the face before falling back toward the ground, the robot floating gently upward. The boy catches her in a princess carry and keeps running until he is only a few meters from where Izuku is standing. He puts her gently on the ground, minding her legs, broken. She taps her fingers together. The robot crashes out of the sky, completely inoperable, and she promptly throws up onto the pavement. Izuku is still frozen to the spot as Mick's booming voice announces the end of the exam. He can't take his eyes off of the scene in front of him, the boy patting her back gently as she cries and dry heaves. Medics arrive on scene, and somewhere he feels himself nodding that yes, he is fine. He failed the entrance exam. The rest of the day passes in a daze. Sometime before he goes home, the girl comes up and thanks him. For what? Ida said he wouldn't have come to rescue me if you hadn't said anything. So I wanted to thank you. She beams, even if she is still a little green in the face. I never got your name. What is it? Midoriya Izuku, he says. She smiles brighter, somehow. I'm Yurariko Ochako. I hope we're in the same class. It'll be nice to have someone as nice as you there. He can feel the blood rush to his face. I didn't. DKU. He's cut off by Kakin, who is storming toward them. He's not sure if he's happy about this or not. Kakin has some kind of mixed expression on his face. It's halfway between a haughty smile and a snarl, and once again, Izuku isn't sure which he'd rather it be. He shoves a finger into Izuku's chest, and yeah, that's definitely more of a smile than a snarl. You didn't make it, did you? I knew as soon as they said it. I knew this would be perfect, and you would fail. He's way too happy about this. Izuku forces the emotion out of his face and prays his voice will be level when he speaks. We haven't gotten the written scores yet. I told you I would get into UE. I never said I was only trying for heroics. Kakin is fuming. He's flexing his fingers like he wants to set off his quirk, but Izuku knows he won't. Instead, he spits on the ground and Izuku's feet and stalks away. Izuku breathes a sigh of relief and slumps backwards into the numb buzz he's been living in since the exam ended. While he sounds pleasant, he looks over to see that Urarika has crossed her arms over her chest. Izuku can't help but chuckle a little. Pleasant isn't exactly the word I would use. Is he? Right? Yeah, I failed the practical exam, and we both kind of saw it coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Urarika shuffles her feet nervously. He shrugs. It's fine. Why did he call you Deku? I thought your name was... She doesn't want to finish the sentence, probably because she's too polite to use his first name, even in this scenario. It's something my friends call me, like a nickname. He didn't really sound like a friend. She scowls at where Kakin walked away. If your friends call you Deku, can I call you Deku? Is that okay? It sounds kinda like you can do it. Izuku smiles. Sure, he certainly hopes Urarika makes it into the heroics course. She will make a wonderful hero, he just knows it. Mom jumps on him when he gets home, wrapping him a hug and demanding to know how it all went. He smiles weakly and tells her the truth, that he didn't earn a single point in the practical exam, but he feels pretty hopeful about the written part. She wipes her tears and decides they're going to make katsudon tonight because you can never go wrong with comfort food, Izuku. He follows her into the kitchen to help. Cooking with Mom has always been one of his favorite things, and maybe it'll snap him out of the dazed funk he's in. The whole thing still hasn't processed. He knows it will eventually, and hopefully he'll be somewhere private when it does. There are a few texts from Chie wishing him luck and asking him how it went. He replies with a quick, "I'll tell you tomorrow," on our run, and falls asleep on the couch with his head in Mom's lap, a Ghibli movie humming quietly on the TV. He wakes up in his own bed. It appears the teleporting powers he had in his youth have not evaded him. He still wonders how Mom carried him. He's several inches taller than her now. He drags himself out of bed and throws on a track suit. It's cold out, even for January, and slips out of the house to meet Chia. Their Sunday runs are typically slow and easy, active rest. It's good for you, but still he hopes she goes easy on him. He's exhausted. She's waiting for him in their spot. As soon as she sees him, she wraps her arms around him, picking him up and spinning him in circles. He protests, but figures it isn't going to do much good, considering how much he's laughing. When she puts him down, they both stumble a bit, grabbing each other to keep their balance, both of their faces flushed with laughter in the crisp January morning. Izuku is still laughing. That was unfair. Chie ruffles his hair. I've got 7 cm on you, idiot. Obviously, I'm going to capitalize on that. Izuku pouts, and she laughs. Now, let's get going. You have a lot to tell me, mister. They start running, and Izuku tells her everything. About the disaster that was the practical exam. How he gave up, not even 5 minutes in. But I was talking to one of the other kids, and if I get into general studies, then if I can do well enough at the sports festival, they'll move me up to heroics. I just have to. His voice cracks in awe. There it is. He failed the exam. All his hard work. Every hour on that beach. Every hour with Jingwa-sensei. He wasted all of it. He wasted all of it, and he failed. Izuku, are you? Chie slows and turns to see where he has stopped running and is furiously wiping tears from his face. Oh God, Izuku. I'm going to hug you, is that all right? He nods, squeezing his eyes shut and clenching his jaw, hoping to make the tears stop, but it isn't working. Chie's arms are around his shoulders, and she cradles a hand against the back of his head, wrapping his arms around her waist and taking fistfuls of her jacket into his hands. He presses his face into her shoulder and sobs. She plays gently with his curls, her nails raking across his scalp. It's going to be okay, Izuku. You did so well. You're doing so well. They kicked you down this one time, but that just means you're going to stand up so much stronger. She rests her cheek against his head, and he is so glad that she's here. She has seen him at his lowest, and he has seen her at hers. They've always been there to build each other up, and as Izuku sobs into her shoulder, he thinks that there's no way he deserves her. But there's no one he would rather have with him right now. They stand like that for some time, but eventually Izuku quiets and the tears dry. She holds him at arm's length and looks him in the eye. You know I'm proud of you, right? He almost laughs. I know. His voice is still rough, and he reaches up to wipe the tears off of his cheeks, pointedly not looking at the wet spots on Chie's jacket. Good, because I am. And obviously it sucks that you didn't pass the whole special heroics exam, but it sounds like it's a stupid, biased exam anyway, and they should fix it. He does actually laugh at that. All this means is you've got to get stronger and kick so much ass that they regret ever passing you over, got it? Hey Chia, what did I ever do to deserve you? She laughs and pulls away, ruffling his hair before taking off in a sprint away from him. Who said you deserve me? She cackles, and Izuku runs after her. The weight in his chest is still there, and it still hurts, but maybe a little bit less. Chia's first entrance exam is a week after Yui's. She is a ball of jittery energy during their morning run, and Izuku wishes her well and sends her off with a smile and an encouraging punch to the shoulder. She spams the group chat around 2 in the afternoon. Izuku closes the app and throws his phone onto his bed. They were already sending acceptance letters out. Does that mean he has to wait in agony for his rejection letter, or will they end his suffering sooner? Hopefully sooner. As happy as he is for EI, it makes his heart ache. He just wants to get this over with. The waiting in limbo is tearing his mind apart. Mom has work today, but she should be home soon. It's barely 2:30 and he has no idea what to do with himself. Moping around the house got old really fast. He ends up grabbing his gloves and running down to Dagoba. He doesn't really know what he's going to do there. He spent the last week clearing the rest of the garbage, so the beach is now perfectly clean. As he guessed, it has started to attract a few people. He finds his old spot easily enough and spends a few minutes building a small fire. The cold ocean breeze whips across his face, and he shifts into his starting pose. He'll just start with a few basic routines. Clear his head. He pulls his fists into his sides, back rigid, and then falls into the familiar steps. The fire whips around him, pulled by his hands, his feet, his hips. His hair whips in the wind, and he loses himself in the movements. It's like a dance. He is perfectly centered, perfectly in control. There is nothing here that can disturb him. His failures cannot touch him because he is here, not there. He spins them around with his hands, and they burn in the fire around him. He wasn't enough then, but he will be. He will be the strongest because he is here, and he is perfectly in control. He started a mile behind, but that just means he will run faster. Nothing can hold him back. The fire sparks in the air past his eyes, and he closes his eyes to just feel the heat against his skin. He spins into an aerial, and the fire follows his feet right back into the makeshift fire pit. He finally stops moving and pants, wiping the sweat off his forehead. Someone cheers, and he looks up to see a few people clapping politely, and a little boy who can't be more than 5 or 6 with his hands in the air, cheering loudly. Izuku smiles and waves, ducking his head in a shallow bow. He can feel his face heating up. He really wasn't expecting spectators. That was awesome. The boy yells. How did you do that? It's kung fu. And my quirk, Izuku says, rubbing the back of his neck. It's very impressive, the woman standing next to the boy, his mom, says. He chuckles and looks at his feet. Thanks. We'll leave you be, one of the other women says. Thanks for the show. They all turn and walk away, leaving Izuku with his little fire and his burning cheeks. He puts the fire out and runs back home, feeling significantly better than when he left. Mom is waiting for him when he gets home. Izuku, she holds an envelope out toward him. It's from Yui. The snappy comeback dies on his tongue as his eyes go wide. He grabs the letter and walks to his room in a daze, closing the door behind him. He almost doesn't want to open it. But he does. The little metal chip falls from the envelope onto his desk, and it sparks before the holographic projection shoots out of it, and a video starts playing. All Might's face crackles through the static, and he asks if the camera is rolling a few times before it focuses, and he grins, right at Izuku. Midoriya Izuku. He's died and gone to heaven. All Might recorded this. For him. And he didn't even pass. You may be wondering why I am speaking for Yui. Oh, come to think of it, why was he? I am a new teacher there. All Might strikes a pose, before someone off camera says something, and All Might looks down at the couple papers he's holding, mumbling right. He clears his throat. You passed the written exam with flying colors. But unfortunately, you didn't earn a single point in the practical exam. Izuku cringes. No battle points, that is. A board of directors were watching the exam and awarded rescue points to anyone who earned them. And, my boy, you may not have run in yourself, but you knew your limitations and alerted young Ida to young Uraraka's predicament, which led to her rescue. The board awarded you 7 rescue points for this. Izuku's eyes widen. He had earned points after all. Maybe not all hope was lost. Unfortunately, 7 points is still a failing score. Izuku has come to some peace with his failure, but hearing the words from the mouth of his idol is still a punch to the gut. But, because you passed the written portion, you were still accepted into the General Studies course. See you in April, young Midoriya. Yui is lucky to have you. All Might grins, and the video cuts out. There are tears on his face. Of course there are. It will be a cold day in hell when he runs out of tears. But all hope is not lost. He made it into Yui, after all, and now he just has to get stronger. His next obstacle is the sports festival. He can make it until then. There are still papers in the envelope. Probably supplies lists and class information. He goes to pull it out, and a small slip of paper twirls out of the envelope and onto his desk. He blinks a few times, unsure if his eyes are playing tricks on him or if it actually says that. He picks up the paper between his 2 fingers, handling it delicately as if it will disappear if he so much as blinks. The entrance exam is flawed. I still think you'll make a great hero, kid. Don't let me down. A.M. Yes, it will be a cold day in hell when Izuku runs out of tears. Chapter 4. The one with the first day of school. Izuku has no idea when his quirk manifested. Everybody has a story. Oh, I cut my eyelid because my quirk manifested at just the wrong moment. Ei was very proud of the tiny scar above his eye. I sneezed and my hair turned pink. Chia has always been thrilled with her quirk, allowing her to change the pigment of her hair and eyes at will. Even Mom remembers when her quirk manifested. I was 5 years old and was trying to steal a treat from Grandpa's office. He caught me in the doorway. and while I was panicking, neither of us noticed that I was pulling the tin toward us until it hit him in the back. She and Grandpa always recount the story fondly. But Izuku? He has no clue. Mom never kept candles around the house. They don't have a fireplace, and there were never any open flames at school either. So his quirk could have manifested any time, and he would have had no idea. By the time he was nearly 6, Mom was starting to worry that he didn't have a quirk at all. Their family doctor took x-rays of his feet and assured them that he probably did have a quirk. He was missing the extra joint in his last toe, after all. But if it hadn't manifested yet, it was probably something they were calling an invisible quirk. A quirk that could only be activated under such specific circumstance that he may never know what it was. Kakin was still his friend then, and so he told him about it the next day at school. That was a bad idea. So you're quirkless? No, not really. We just don't know if we'll ever know what my quirk is. Kakin laughed. Same thing, right? Later that day, Kakin kicked him to the ground and called him useless. Deku, you'll never be anything other than a useless, crying baby. He was 6.5 when Kakin found him in the yard behind the school. A grin that would never mean good things split open on his face, and sparks lit in his palm. There were no teachers around, and Izuku knew what that meant. He cried. He cried and he begged, but Kakin laughed and lit an explosion in his palm. It was a warning. It wasn't meant to hit him. He knew this, knows this. Kakin does too. But the small explosion was out as soon as it appeared, and Izuku screamed. He was sent home that day with his hands wrapped and bleeding, and Kakin was suspended despite his adamant protests that he hadn't done anything. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him. His first day of high school is tomorrow, and Izuku couldn't be more excited. He's been bouncing off the walls all morning. Mom must have been expecting this, because she just looks at him, struggling to stay still as he eats his breakfast, and laughs. Technically, school starts tomorrow, but there's a whole induction ceremony / welcome assembly / whatever you want to call it today. They're meeting their homeroom teachers too, so today might as well be the first day of school. He and EI talked last night, both of them way too excited to get any real sleep. EI was obviously disappointed that they wouldn't be in the same class, but at the end of the day they were both ecstatic to actually meet each other in real life. Class 1A and 1C were probably in the same hallway, and they could see each other at lunch if nothing else. Or today. It isn't a real school day, so they can probably meet up today. Izuku bounces up and puts his bowl in the sink with a little more force than probably necessary. Bye, Mom. He grabs his bag and kisses her on the cheek. Be safe, she yells after him, laughing as he practically sprints out the door. It's a 10-minute train ride to Yui's campus, and Izuku cannot stop moving the entire time. He knows he's getting weird looks from the other passengers, but if he stops bouncing his leg, he's going to explode for sure. Yeah, this is technically the second time he's been on Yui's campus, but holy hell, he forgot how big it is. The school itself is massive, and the grounds just stretch on forever and ever. He shakes himself out of his daze and walks into the school. He just has to find Class 1C. Unfortunately, the building is a massive glass maze and Izuku is just one small, lost boy. Fortunately, one of the upperclassmen takes pity on him and points him in the right direction. He looks familiar too. Tall, blonde, dark eyes, and a friendly smile. He'll have to look through his notebook on the sports festivals. Maybe he knows him from there. Izuku is not the last person to class, thankfully, but there are still plenty of people there, sitting on and around desks, chatting, laughing, and carrying on. Izuku stands in the doorway, not quite sure what he's supposed to do. Is there some kind of assigned seating? He swallows nervously before seeing someone he recognizes. It's a small thing, but he feels the relief wash over him instantly and takes a seat in front of the still wild-haired Shinso Hitoshi. He doesn't look up when Izuku sits down. Looks like we both passed the written exam, then. Izuku smiles. He's bad at making friends. Hopefully, this isn't a bad way to go about it. Shinso scoffs. Looks like it. Was the practical too much for you? Izuku shrugs. Guess I'm no good against robots either. He stretches. Too bad, though. The hero course doesn't know what they're missing, tossing both of us out like that. You don't know that. What? Shinso looks up at him. Either Izuku forgot just how dark the circles under his eyes were, or they've gotten darker in the last few months. You don't even know what my quirk is. You can't say that. Izuku pouts. I know it's a psychological quirk. Those are typically pretty strong. Shinso looks away again. Yeah, whatever. Izuku is about to ask what exactly his quirk is when the door bangs open and in walks none other than Midnight herself. Chie is going to love this. She's taller than she looks on TV and about 8 times as intimidating. What's up, you fucks? I probably shouldn't have said that. Aizawa is going to kill me. She laughs, propping her elbows on the table at the front of the classroom and resting her chin in her hands. She looks downright devious, and Izuku feels a chill run down his spine. Well, he can certainly try. She grins at them. Hello, kids. You can call me Kiyama-sensei or Midnight, whatever suits your fancy. I'm going to be your homeroom teacher for the next 3 years. Hopefully not, Shinso mutters. Izuku suppresses a snicker. Midnight, Kiyama-sensei, must not have heard them, because she stands up straight and rests her hands lazily on her hips. I also teach history of heroics, so you'll have to deal with me there too. We have a few minutes before we need to head out for the welcome ceremony, so we should probably do some kind of introduction. She must notice the unsaid disgust rippling through the room. Hey, listen, I don't want to do this as much as you. But, she splays her hands open by her shoulders in almost a shrug. We've got to kill time somehow, and you're sure as hell not going to get to do this tomorrow. So say your name and one interesting thing about yourself, and please for the love of God, don't just say what your quirk is. There has got to be something more interesting about you than that. Here, I'll start. She taps her finger on her chin. My name is Kiyama. You don't get to know my given name, and I own 3 dogs who are probably smarter than the lot of you collectively. She gestures to a girl sitting on the front row. She stands and starts to say her name when there's some kind of commotion outside the door, like a lot of people running past. Midnight curses under her breath. Aizawa, what are you doing now? She shakes her head before looking back at the girl and smiling. Sorry, please continue. Introductions continue around the room, and Izuku would be lying if he said he was paying any more than half attention. With any luck, he won't be in class with these people for more than a few weeks anyway. Not that that is a good reason not to care about someone, but introductions are always miserable anyway. Eventually, the line of awkward introductions comes to Izuku, and he stands, catching his foot on his desk and nearly falling over in the process. So much for first impressions. I'm a Midoriya Izuku, and I'm a gymnast? He didn't mean to make that sound like a question, but here we are. A gymnast? A girl sitting near him asks, is that one of the quirkless sports? Yes. It's an Olympic sport, so it is quirk regulated, Izuku squeaks. The girl nods thoughtfully, and Izuku sinks into his seat, face burning. Behind him, Shinso shifts to stand. My name is Shinso Hitoshi. I have 3 cats that are definitely smarter than the lot of you combined. Midnight snorts as he sits back down, and Izuku turns around to smile at him. Shinso rolls his eyes and props his face in his hand lazily. The introductions continue, and soon enough Midnight is herding them out of the classroom and toward the courtyard where the welcome assembly will be. Izuku falls into step with Shinso, but he avoids looking at Izuku and tries to lose him around every corner they turn. He can't be friends with everyone, Izuku knows that, but he is hoping it will be easier to make friends at Yui. He really doesn't want a repeat of middle school. At least he has EI, though. They agreed to find each other at the welcome assembly. Midnight directs them to a section of seats, and they all file in while she turns to someone standing over another class next to them. Is Aizawa not going to be here? The man, Vlad King, the blood hero. Yui is so cool, sighs and rubs his temples. No, he's not. I heard them out on the field. So heaven help those poor kids, he's probably going to expel one before school even starts. As is life, Aizawa wouldn't be himself if he didn't expel half his class in the first week. Vlad King laughs. You're right about that. Izuku keeps searching the crowd, but he can't find EI, or anyone with bright red hair, for that matter. Even if EI looks different in person than he does over Snapchat, his hair is distinctive enough to pick out of a crowd, right? Maybe he is in Aizawa's class. Izuku hopes he's okay. From the sound of it, EI is going to have an interesting couple of years at Yui. Hopefully they all will. He certainly hopes so. If the next 3 years are boring, he is going to be very, very disappointed. This is Yui, after all. The crowd of students quiets down as someone walks to the raised podium at the front. Well, if someone can be applied to the small, white rodent, the small white animal of some kind, in a nicely tailored suit, walks to the microphone, stretches out his paws, and smiles. Welcome to Yui, and welcome back to all of our returning students. A cheer ripples through the crowd, and Izuku can't help but feel swept up in it. The grin on his face sure isn't going to leave anytime soon. He hasn't felt this excited about anything in years. The principal, who is definitely some kind of animal with a quirk, was not the least of the surprises that came with the welcome assembly. The whole thing feels like a bizarre fever dream, to be honest. A couple of the third years speak, including the blonde one who helped him find his classroom. When it ends, Midnight herds them back to the classroom and gives them a simple rundown of how tomorrow is going to work. You have 6 class periods, with 5-minute breaks between. You will also have 45 minutes for lunch, between periods 4 and 5. The heroics classes have a 7th period, so you won't be able to talk to them or anyone teaching them until that 7th period is over. I will let you know when I'm on duty to teach them, so I don't just disappear on you randomly. She slaps the desk with her open palm. Sound good? Yes, sensei, they chorus. Great. Now get lost. It's Sunday, and I have a date with sweatpants and Netflix. She shoos them out of the room. Izuku tries to catch Shinso in the hallway, but the purple-haired boy keeps his head down and gets out of Izuku's way with a determination that he hasn't seen since he and Kaken were 8. Which is too bad. He really was hoping to conspire with Shinso about getting into heroics. Certainly, if they work together, they will stand more of a chance against the hero kids. Well, Shinso may be stubborn now, but Izuku is going to be proactive this year. He's not going to have a repeat of middle school. Just you watch, Kaken. In any case, he should go find EI. He's in class 1A. They weren't there during the welcome assembly, so will they be back in their classroom? Would it be better to wait for him by his classroom? Outside. Maybe he should text him, ask where he is. But there's no guarantee that he will see it while he's still in the school. And what if whatever their teacher is having them do isn't over? Maybe they should wait and meet up tomorrow during lunch. They'll have lunch at the same time, right? Wow, you really do the muttering thing. Izuku squeaks and spins around, eyes wide, holding his hands instinctively in front of his chest. The boy laughs, showing off his unnaturally sharp teeth. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Kirishima Ijiru. He holds out his hand and grins. He's so much taller in person, holy shit. EI. Izuku squeaks. Or, Kirishima. Should I call you Kirishima? Sorry you startled me. I was just looking for you. Or, I was going to. He tugs at the sleeves of his jacket, before realizing he should probably shake Kirishima's hand, since he was offering. Midoriya Izuku. Wow, it's so cool to see you. You can call me whatever you like, Kirishima, EI, says, and laughs again. You're so much shorter than I thought you would be. I still can't quite believe it's you. Like, wow. He throws his hands up. You're actually real. Izuku laughs. I am, shockingly enough. They start walking down the hallway toward the lockers at the entrance. You have Aizawa, right? Yeah. The guy is so much cooler than I thought he would be when he first showed up. Took me a while to realize that he's Eraserhead, but he's an underground hero, so I'd never seen his face. Izuku splutters. Eraserhead. You have Eraserhead? That's so cool, oh my god. Huh. Maybe if I wasn't fearing for my life, it'd be cool. Izuku stops. What? Kirishima throws his hands up as he backtracks. No, I didn't mean that literally. He's fine, it's fine. He expelled a guy today, that's all. He's relieved, and falls back into step with Kirishima. School hasn't even started? Right? He took us all out back for a fitness test and expelled the person who finished last. It was terrifying, to be honest. Kirishima pauses. I mean, it kind of made me more excited for the whole thing. Like, wow, they really don't let just anybody in here, you know. Izuku swallows. Yeah, he knows. Kirishima claps him on the shoulder. I've got to go now, but we should totally hang out. Definitely. Izuku beams and waves as Kirishima walks away, before turning toward the train station. His fake first day is done. The real first day is tomorrow. He is somehow both more and less ready than he was before. He's definitely more excited. The whole thing hasn't quite processed yet, but it's starting to feel real. He's also feeling some kind of dread set in that wasn't there before. If someone who passed the entrance exam has already been expelled, who is he to say that he can make it in the hero course? He hasn't got a chance. He stops walking and pulls his hand slowly from his nose to his chest, breathing deeply. He needs to stop thinking like that. He starts walking again, slowly. So what if he's behind now? It just means he will have to work twice as hard as everyone else. Didn't one of his coaches tell him that? Izuku sniffled, wiping his eyes with the palms of his hands. He was never going to get it. Okada-sensei crouched down next to him. Izuku, why are you crying? Because Chie and Masumi can already do the new jump, and I can't, and he hiccuped, his voice catching. I'll never be as good as them. Okada-sensei took him by the shoulders and looked into his eyes. Listen, Izuku, just because someone learns something faster than you doesn't mean they're better than you. And it certainly doesn't mean you can't still fight tooth and nail for the top spot. You just have to work twice as hard as them. 3 times as hard, even. I promise your victory will be so much sweeter then. That's it. He squares his shoulders. He may not have hit the ground running. Far from it, in fact, but that's not going to stop him. By God or heaven or all the powers that be, he is going to make them regret not putting him in the hero course sooner. They fucking what? Izuku laughs and rolls over on his bed, readjusting the phone. Yeah, expelled a kid on the first day. Before the first day. Whatever. I'm shook. Izuku, they're going to eat you alive. I'm not sure about that. I think I'd be pretty chewy. Chie is quiet for a second on the other end of the line. Izuku, you little shit. And then he's laughing again, and she is too. The principal, though, he's like a mouse or something. A guinea pig, maybe. Chie cackles. Hey, what? What the fuck kind of place is Yui? Honestly, I have no idea, but Midnight is my homeroom teacher, so… No. What? You're pulling my leg. A grin pulls at the corners of his mouth. Nope. She strolled into the room, in full costume, and the first thing she said to us was, "What's up, you fucks?" It was a magical experience. Chie groans. I can't believe this. I can't. Midnight is my favorite hero. Why the fuck do you get her as your teacher? Holy shit, Midnight is your teacher. I should have just gone to Yui with you. This isn't fair. He laughs. It's a little surreal, yeah? Maybe when you come down for a weekend you can meet her. Yeah, maybe. That would be nice. He idly taps his feet against the wall next to his bed. How's Tokyo? Big. Like, everybody says it's big, and it's the biggest city in the world. I should have expected this. But sweet fuck Izuku, this place is so huge. Are you settling okay and all? Chia hums. Yeah, I think so. I've got a couple of roommates that are from up north, but they seem nice. I've only known them for a day at this point, so no promises there. I think school will be good, too. That's good. I worry about you, out there all alone. Oh, shush up. You know I'll be fine. He smiles. She had gotten into her top choice school, but unfortunately that school was on the western outskirts of Tokyo. She left yesterday and thankfully found some other people to go in on an apartment with, but Izuku is already missing her like crazy. Yeah, I know you will be. Good luck tomorrow, Chie. You too, Izuku. I'll talk to you after school tomorrow. Sounds good. And get going on Yui's gymnastics club. I want to see y'all in competition, just so I can say that I wiped the floor with Yui kids. Izuku laughs. I'll see what I can do. Bye. Chie, talk to you tomorrow. Chie laughs. Talk to you tomorrow, nerd. Smooches. She ends the call, and Izuku sighs, letting his phone fall onto his chest. The posters that cover his walls and ceiling stare down at him. All Might mostly. A smattering of others. Several with dark red and black bases. Endeavor. He knows he'll never be someone like All Might. He's not flashy like that. He doesn't have the raw strength that All Might has, which lets him floor any enemy. But Endeavor? They both have fire quirks. Fire quirks aren't like strength quirks. They're not universally applicable, and they can very easily do more damage than good. And yet, Endeavor is the #2 hero with the most resolved incidents of any pro hero. He's everything Izuku wants to be and can't be, simply because of the nature of his quirk. But he'll be damned if he doesn't try. All those months ago, when Kaken had been caught by the slime villain, If Izuku had been just a little stronger, a little faster, a little better, he could have saved him. Next time, the next time he's in a place like that, he will be strong enough, good enough, to save them. Everyone deserves saving. And Izuku will fight tooth and nail to make sure he saves as many people as he can. He is no less excited for his first real day of school than he was yesterday. No, it hasn't processed yet. He's hoping it'll hit him quietly. He practically bounces out of bed, wolfing down his breakfast and wishing his mom a good day before he's out the door and skipping toward the train station. He has to take the early train. It'll get him to school 15 or 20 minutes early, depends on how fast he walks. But that's better than the next option, which will get him there 10 minutes late. He's fine with being to school early. He spends the train ride scrolling through hero forums. There's still some buzz over what All Might is doing is Mizutofu, but the hype has mostly died down after 10 months with no real news. Well, Izuku knows why he's in Mizutofu, but it must be a secret because the press doesn't know yet. And it's not like he's told anybody. Nothing big again today, at least not in his area. Endeavor took out a group of smugglers last night, but it doesn't look like they were connected to anyone else, so it isn't that big of a deal. There's a city in the north that was terrorized by a creature of some sort. It looks like it might have been a man, but it's been completely catatonic since the heroes brought it in. Nobody knows what it is or if it's connected to a bigger plot, but there are lots of theories floating around. Maybe he'll do some research about this. It could be interesting if it's more than the one isolated attack. He almost misses his stop. That would be bad. But someone jostles him, and he's snapped out of his daze. Right. First day of school. At Yui. Holy shit, he got into Yui. He's going to YUUEI. He catches his breath and forces it to even out as he walks off the train and toward the school. Holy shit. There are a couple of people buzzing around, but classes don't start for another 20 minutes, so it's pretty quiet. He takes his time strolling through the halls, double-checking the locations of all his classes. He'll mostly be moving with his class from room to room, but it's still good to know where everything is. How long does he have before the sports festival? 4 or 5 weeks. It feels both very far away and very close. He's got to be stronger by then. The Heroics kids will have had 5 weeks more training than him at that point, and from pro heroes no less. It'll be nothing short of a miracle if he can even hold a match to them. But he knows this. He knew this. He's always had to work twice as hard as everyone else. Why would that stop now? Maybe he should ask Jingwa-sensei if he has any suggestions for how to integrate his quirk into his fighting style. Up until now, he's been doing that on his own, but it wouldn't hurt to have someone else's opinion. He's so lost in his train of thought, probably was muttering too. Figures that he runs straight into someone's back. Izuku reels backward. I am so sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Are you okay? I'm sorry again. I should really watch where I'm walking. It's a really bad habit. He bows and misses the surprised recognition in the man's eyes. He chuckles. It's fine, my boy, stand up. Are you okay? Izuku feels himself blush as he straightens up and finally gets a look at the man. He's tall, easily over 2 meters, and he towers over Izuku. He's wearing a yellow pinstripe suit that's probably 6 sizes too big, and his wild yellow hair frames his skeletal face and sunken blue eyes. I'm fine. Do I? The pieces click in his head, and Izuku gasps. Oh, you were there with the slime villain. I told you to watch my backpack. Thanks for that, by the way. I never saw you afterward. Izuku trails off, feeling his face heat up again. What are the odds? It's no big deal, my boy. I'm just glad you're okay. You're too reckless for your own good. The man shakes his head, a small, knowing smile on his face. I never got your name. Do you mind? Not at all. Izuku squeaks. I'm Midoriya Izuku. And you? Yagi Tashinori. The man, Yagi, offers a hand, and Izuku shakes it. His hand is so big, it absolutely swallows Izuku's own. Walk with me. He gestures down the hall, and Izuku nods, falling into step with him. Well, he's taking 2 steps for every one of Yagi's, but the guy is a giant. Do you teach here? Izuku asks. Yagi smiles. I do, actually. I just started, though. This is my first year. Izuku beams. Me too, actually. What are the odds? He feels himself skipping a little bit. Yui is amazing. If you don't mind me asking, are you a pro hero? Most of the teachers here are, and I don't recognize you. Yagi hums. You could say that. Technically, I'm still a pro hero, but I had to retire early from hero work. An injury caught up to me, and I've been ill since, so I can't work like I used to. So you decided to teach? Something like that. I wanted to make sure the next generation is in good hands. What's your hero name? If you don't mind me asking, Izuku says, throwing his hands up in front of his chest apologetically. Yagi laughs. You wouldn't know me. I've been out of commission since you were very young. He's dodging the question. Izuku can tell that much. What would make him hide his hero identity, though? He's teaching at Yui. There are not a lot of places to hide here. Oh well. If he doesn't want to share, Izuku won't press. A bell rings, and Izuku nearly jumps out of his skin. That's the warning bell, my boy. You should probably get to homeroom. Izuku nods. It was nice taking to you, Mr. Yagi. You too, young Midoriya. I hope we'll cross paths again. Yagi smiles at him, and Izuku grins back, spinning on his heel and running for Class 1C. When he gets home, he'll run some searches for Yagi Tashinori. He sounds so familiar when he's talking. Izuku is sure he knows him from somewhere. They're all assigned desks in homeroom, and Izuku is delighted to find that he'll be sitting diagonally in front of Shinso. Kitty corner? Is that what it's called? He flashes the other boy a smile, but Shinso rolls his eyes and looks pointedly out the window, away from Izuku. He frowns. As far as he knows, Shinso doesn't have any other friends, here or otherwise. So wouldn't he be eager to actually make a friend or two? They have the same goal. At the very least, they can help each other get into the hero course, right? Two is better than one, after all. Some nagging voice at the back of his head insists that he just isn't meant for friends. He has Chie, but she left, and he had Kaken, but we all know how that turned out. His fault. It's been 7 years now, and he'll never be able to heal the rift he caused. He's not even sure what's wrong with him. He's overbearing? Is it the muttering? Maybe people can instinctively see that he's parasitic. His power can only come from other people, and he uses them for his own gains. He tries to snap himself out of the destructive train of thought. He's not going to make it into the hero course thinking like that. Hell, he won't be able to help anyone if he keeps this up. He folds his hands on his desk and tries to listen to what Midnight is saying. Maybe it will amount to nothing, but he's going to keep trying to befriend Shinso. They'd talked easily enough at the entrance exam. The potential for friendship is there. He just knows it is. Of course, he won't push Shinsu's boundaries or make him uncomfortable, but he'll be damned if he lets this purple tired boy slip under his radar. The first day of school is syllabus day. Izuku knew this coming in, but some part of him still hoped they would be doing something different. Not so. In some of their classes, they jump right into the material, but most of them rehash rules and class policies. Most of the teachers mention something about sporadically teaching heroics during 7th period, and how they'll try to keep them notified of when. He doesn't see Yagi all day. Honestly, he's kind of disappointed. He doesn't know which hero Yagi was, but he was really nice and Izuku would have liked to have a class with him. Lunch rolls around soon enough, and Izuku finds himself faced with the enormous, sprawling cafeteria and absolutely no idea what to do. It's not like he has any friends to sit with. Not for the first time, he wishes Chie had actually applied to Yui with him. He grabs his tray of food, which looks heavenly by the way, and is walking toward an empty table when someone grabs his arm. He stumbles forward, nearly losing his food. Behind him, a familiar high-pitched voice curses. Deku, I'm so sorry, are you okay? I really should be more careful. Izuku laughs, turning around to see Uraraka, flushed and still apologizing profusely. It's okay, I'm fine. It's good to see you. He was so caught up in looking for Kirishima yesterday that he'd forgotten to check the crowd for her, he realizes. She beams. You too. Do you want to come eat lunch with us? Me and Ida, I mean. That sounds great. Thank you. He follows her across the cafeteria to where the tall, stern boy with glasses is sitting. When he sees them, he jumps to his feet. Uraraka, you shouldn't have run off like that. Who is this? Uraraka plops down, pulling Izuku by the elbow down next to her. I can't believe you don't remember. This is Deku. Well, Midoriya. Some kind of recognition flashes in Ida's eyes. Oh, forgive me. My name is Ida Tenya. Izuku barks some kind of startled laugh. Midoriya, Izuku. It's nice to finally talk to you under normal circumstances. Ida adjusts his glasses, but smiles. I agree. It's good to see that you made it into UE. Which class are you in? Oh, I'm in 1C. I didn't pass the practical. He feels himself growing sheepish and forces himself to snap out of it. I'm glad that you guys both got in too. Which classes are you in? We're both in 1A. Uraraka says, grinning and bouncing in her seat. It's been crazy so far, and we're only a day in. Izuka laughs. Wow, really? Indeed, Ida says. 2 students have already been expelled. It's disconcerting, to say the least. 2. I knew about the one yesterday, but there's another. His mouth is hanging open. Yeah. Uraraka grimaces. I'm happy to see him go, though. The kid yesterday seemed nice, and I don't think it was fair that he got expelled just for coming in last. But today this other boy with, like, purple sticky hair? I don't really know. He tried to grope one of the other girls, and Aizawa expelled him for it. Honestly, I'm really glad we don't have to deal with him. I share a similar sentiment, Ida says. Yikes though. 2 kids in 2 days. Are you going to be alright? Uraraka laughs. I hope so. Our first real day of hero training is today, and I'm really excited. Something sharp pangs in Izuka's chest. He smiles regardless. I'm really excited for you. Thankfully, they devolve away from heroics, and quirks too. Neither Ida nor Uraraka asks him about his quirk, and Ida never mentions his. And Izuku falls into the steady push and pull of a conversation. It's weird. Sitting and talking with people at lunch, that is. Nice weird, though. He's glad Uraraka remembered him and singled him out. She's really nice and funny, even if Ida still looks a little wary of him. Not that Izuku really blames him. He's walking back to class when Shinso bumps into him. I see you're cozying up to the hero kids. They're not going to help you. He sneers, walking ahead of Izuku and away before he can defend himself. Maybe that's it. He's bitter. That's certain now. At the entrance exam, he seemed fine with getting into the heroics department through the back door, but maybe he's more bitter about the situation than Izuku realized. Maybe he also doesn't realize that there's no weakness in working with other people, with having help. It's a concept Izuku himself is still struggling with a bit. Other people helping him is too similar to him using them. He knows there's a mental block there, and he knows it stems from guilt over his quirk, and he's trying to work around it. He is, but doing anything not on 100% of his own power is a lot, nerve-wracking. Maybe Shinso is in a similar place. Maybe they can help each other. Izuku sighs and walks into class. It's going to a long road, but something is telling him that his, and Shinsu's, best chance of making it through this whole ordeal is to work together. He just has to get Shinso to see that. The purple-haired boy is sitting at his desk, chin propped in his hand, and staring out the window, seemingly oblivious to the world around him. He doesn't look up when Izuka sits down. He doesn't even know Shinsu's quirk. But hey, he's got 5 weeks. Well, 5 weeks minus 1 day. He can break through all this ice in that time, right? He has to. Shinso looks like he needs just as much saving from his own mind, and Izuka does. Chapter 5. The one where we Google All Might. Katsuki really hates that he flinched when All Might burst through the door. He doesn't think anyone noticed, but he still scowls down at his desk. It's not his fault that he can't stop associating All Might with the whole sludge villain thing. He's working through it with his therapist, God. He hates that too. And it's almost better, but not enough that he doesn't feel himself suffocating as soon as he hears All Might's voice. God, fuck, this is so stupid. At least they're going to do battle training. Maybe if he can blow something up, he'll feel better. His costume is actually pretty nice. Those support team fuckers, or whoever he submitted the design to, actually did a decent job. The gauntlets are lighter around his wrists than he expected them to be, but they're also empty, so maybe he shouldn't be too surprised. The real test will be if they can handle a full power blast while countering the recoil. Hopefully he'll get to test them out. He'd better. He's been waiting for too long, and he's too jittery right now. He needs to release all this pent-up energy, or he's going to die. Maybe not die, but he'll end up doing something that he'll have to spend hours talking through with his therapist, so same thing, right? All Might is explaining the exercise, but Katsuki is only half listening. Something about teams of 3, a villain team and a hero team, need to protect a nuclear weapon, yada yada. He really should be more excited about this than he is, this being the first day at UE and all. In all honesty, It's taking everything he has to tune All Might out and keep the bile down his throat. He really didn't think he'd react this strongly to a voice of all things. All Might didn't even get there until it was almost over. He's drawing teams now. Maybe if he knew anyone in his class's names he'd care more, but he doesn't. He's strong enough by himself that it shouldn't matter anyway. The first matchup will be All Might sticks his hands in the two boxes in front of him. Team C as heroes and Team A as villains. Villains, you'll have 5 minutes to hide your weapon before the hero team enters the building. He's Team A, and he's a villain. Katsuki grins. He would never consider being a villain in real life. What the fuck? But being a pretend villain for a training? It's all the excuse he needs to blow someone, up, and he is ecstatic. He's storming, strutting, power walking, murder walking, however you want to describe it, when he is affronted by two people. Probably the other two people on his team. We should strategize, the boy says. His costume looks like a cross between a car engine and a robot. In short, it's tacky and horrible, and he could really use some design advice. What are your quirks? The girl asks. Her costume at least has some design sense. It's red, an excellent color, with some kind of high-collared crop top and short shorts in the same color. She's also sporting a yellow belt that looks way too bulky to be practical. But hey, if she wants to limit her movement, that's her problem, not his. Engine. I have engines in my legs. The boy says. Good fuck, he's so loud. I can light explosions in my palms, Katsuki grumbles. Better to concede than fight them about it for the rest of the time. I can create anything from my body fat, she says. It would be very easy for me to barricade the weapon into the room we choose for it. Fantastic, you two guard it, and I'll ambush them, Katsuki says. This is working out better than he hoped. My quirk is more combat-oriented anyway. Engine boy hums. That doesn't sound like the best plan. Do you have a better one? I'll wait. Ponytail sighs. We should move the weapon to a higher floor. It'll give you more room to fight the hero team and give us longer to fortify it. Great. I'll see you fuckers when this is over. Language. Engine yells after him, but Katsuki is already racing down the hallway to get an idea of the layout of the building. This will all be over very quickly if he has anything to say about it. And he will. The building very obviously isn't meant to resemble an actual, functional building. Each floor is practically a maze, with more hallways than rooms. Makes for good training, he supposes. The hero team has the octopus guy, the really bouncy girl who's been hanging out with damn Deku. He can't escape him. Everywhere he goes, everything he does, Deku is always right there, isn't he? And the half-and-half bastard with the god-awful ice costume. The only things he knows about their quirks are based on what he saw yesterday in the physical exam, which isn't a lot. Arms guy is probably who he has to look out for, though. Stealth has never been his strong suit, but if Arms can grow extra hands on his hands, then he can probably grow ears too, and Katsuki would rather have the element of surprise on his side. So he finds the best stakeout on the second floor, crouches, and waits. Ponytail and Engine are a couple floors above him. 5? Not that it matters. He won't let anyone get near them, and he can't hear them moving anymore, so they must be ready. He breathes out slowly, steeling himself, and stops fighting the crazed grin threatening to break out on his face. Mom always says it makes him look like a maniac, but so what? He's the villain here. He might as well look the part. All Might calls time, and they're officially on the clock. The hero team should be coming in now. He waits in silence for a few painful seconds. Then he hears something. It's a faint popping sound, like when you drop an ice cube in a cup of water and it cracks. Was it always so cold in here? His eyes widen. Oh fuck no. A sheet of ice is rapidly crawling along the floor toward him. Along the walls too. Shit. He jumps, firing off an explosion and alerting everyone to his position. Damn it. To keep him in the air, and narrowly avoids becoming encased in the ice himself. He doesn't land soundly, and his feet slip under him. A string of curses fly from his mouth, but he doesn't fall. So who's the real winner here? Not this fucking ice, that's who. This is certainly going to make things more difficult, though. He grits his teeth and grins. Bastards making it interesting for him? Thank fuck. It'd be awfully boring if he was the only one here with any sense. There are footsteps coming toward him now, calm and measured, like whoever it is doesn't have a care in the world. It's probably that half-and-half ice bastard. Thinks he's won. Think again, bitch. He comes into view and Katsuki lunges, his palms sparking in anticipation. Half-and-half blinks lazily and sweeps his hand up from his side. He hears the cracking before he sees the ice forming, and unfortunately, they both have too much momentum. He crashes into the small glacier, and it seals around him, locking him into place. What the fuck? Half-and-half shrugs. And is that a smirk? Oh, the bastard is definitely smirking at him, and Katsuki is going to blow his fucking face off. Don't be disappointed just because I'm stronger than you. He doesn't even spare Katsuki a backward glance as he continues on down the hallway. His loss. Katsuki may be trapped in ice, but he still has a hell of a lot of sweat on his hands and in his gloves. It takes a second, but he ignites it and the ice shatters around his hands and arms. Hey you, ice bastard, he yells, prying himself the rest of the way out of the ice block. Get over here and fucking fight me. He doesn't actually expect him to get over here. From any strategic standpoint, that's a piss-poor move, and if this bastard fell for it, Katsuki would be sorely disappointed. He does expect him to at least glance back, and glance back he does. Katsuki is already on him, propelling himself forward with the force of his explosions and hooking half-and-half right across the face. Or he would have if a sheet of ice hadn't sprung up out of fucking nowhere. The ice shatters under the force of his explosion, and he yells in frustration. There's a very loud crashing sound from somewhere above them, and the building shakes with it. Half-and-half smirks again. It's been good playing with you, but... And then All Might's voice in all of their ears. Hero team wins. Mom isn't there when he gets home. That's not unusual. She rarely gets home before him. He pulls some chicken out of the freezer to defrost and retreats to his room. He passed Yagi in the hallway after 6th period, but he seemed to be in a hurry and didn't stop to talk. He did wave, though, which is nice. All that said, Izuku's curiosity is still mounting. He pulls open his laptop and types Yagi Tashinori into the search bar. Nothing. Well, technically he gets thousands of results, but none of them are particularly helpful. There's somebody named Yagi Tashinori who was a small-time movie director, but he died some 50 or 60 years ago. There's absolutely nothing relating to heroes. He drums his fingers on his desk and types Aizawa Shoyuta into the search bar. He overheard Mike call out to the very scruffy-looking teacher sometime between classes. He has several pages of notebook number 6 dedicated to Eraserhead, but he didn't know his real name until today. The results pull up, and the first few are nonsensical or historical figures with similar names. But about 6 links down, the UE faculty directory pulls up, citing Aizawa as both a teacher and the pro-hero Eraserhead. What? His eyebrows pinching together involuntarily, Izuku follows the link through to the UE faculty page. The page is full of a colorful assortment of heroes, several in the top 30 or 40, but all well known enough that Izuku has heard of them. He has notes on most of them, actually. All Might even has a page. Izuku laughs at that. The headshot they have of him is mildly atrocious. The yellow pinstripe suit is tacky beyond all belief, but it definitely adds something. Charm maybe. The fact that the symbol of peace is a fashion disaster isn't exactly something that the public shrinks away from laughing at. It's all in good fun. All Might's one flaw, as we like to say, but he certainly isn't doing himself any favors with this suit. Izuku closes All Might's profile and keeps scrolling through the teachers. When he reaches the bottom, he frowns, scrolling back up to look through it again. And then he pulls up the website's internal search function and searches Yagi Tashinori. Nothing. He did say he was new. Maybe they just haven't made a page for him yet. But this is All Might's first year teaching at UE as well, and he has a profile all set up and is searchable on the website. Something isn't adding up here. Yagi had seemed honest when Izuku was talking to him. He fancies himself to be a pretty perceptive person, and there hadn't seemed to be anything that Yagi was outright lying to him about. He was definitely being dodgy about his hero identity, but that's why Izuku is here trying to find him. And he'll be damned if he doesn't find something. He cracks his knuckles and dives in. He actually shoots a message to his friends first. For heads are better than one. Small_might at Professional Yike at Best Genius at Crimson Riot. Have you guys ever heard of a hero named Yagi Tashinori? Small underscore might. That's his real name, not his hero name BTW. Best Gnas. No? Professional yike. Yeah, ik bro. Professional yike. Can't believe we found a hero you don't know. Props to this Yagi guy. Best Gnas. Yawati yes up? Where did you find this guy? Small underscore might. He T is at UA. I don't have him though. I talked to him before school, and he seemed like a cool guy. Small underscore might. He was super dodgy about his hero identity, though so am doing some RESEARCH. Professional yike. Maybe he's an underground hero? Doesn't want PPL to know who he is. Small underscore might. Yeah, maybe. Small underscore might. I'll let you guys know if I find anything. Best Gnas. Yeet bro. Professional yike. Please don't speak. Izuku closes the chat window and starts down all his usual routes of people investigation. There are always ways to find people. You just have to know how to do it. He always likes to try the non-shady methods first before he starts breaking into government databases for Quirk registries. That's the foolproof, but last resort, method. He does a couple searches for the family name, Yagi. It isn't one he's heard very many times, so maybe he'll find something unique. He stumbles across a few articles about a family named Yagi who were all murdered, save for their 7-year-old son, who isn't named, by villains some 60 years ago. It's a heart-wrenching story, but he can't track this little boy, who would be what, 64 or 65 now, to the Yagi at Yui. The boy was too young, so legally they couldn't say his first name. The ages might line up though. Yagi said he was before Izuku's time, and it's true that this little boy, had he become a hero, would have been in and out of his prime long before Izuku was born. It's hard to tell how old Yagi is though. He looks sickly, but he's not really graying or wrinkled, so he could be anywhere from 35 to 90, and Izuku wouldn't bat an eye. Izuku groans in frustration. How the hell is he supposed to figure out who Yagi is? He realizes he's probably not. The guy covered his tracks for a reason, but if he thinks that's going to stop Izuku, the king of nosiness, from doing everything in his power to find him, then he's dead wrong. The Quirk registry database is technically public property, but that doesn't mean that it isn't guarded by every security measure the government could legally take. There's a lot of damage people can do with the Quirk registry, especially because it's tied so closely to a lot of other, more sensitive public records. That being said, Izuku figured out how to hack into it when he was 12. He doesn't abuse this power. He just sometimes likes to look up what people's quirks officially are. And sometimes if he uses it to find people's birthdays, that's neither here nor there. Yagi Tashinori brings up 27 results, which is significantly less than Izuku was expecting. This will probably be pretty easy, then. He starts sorting through them, pulling out people who are definitely too old or too young or who have horns, etc. 17 results in, Izuku sees him, and his breath catches in his throat. The picture is not of Yagi as Izuku knows him now, but it is undoubtedly him. He has the same mane of wild blonde hair framing his narrow face. His cheekbones are still sharp, though softer than they are now, hollowed by illness and age. His bright blue eyes twinkle at Izuku from the screen, and his grin is near blinding. He's also 21 in this photo, at the very most. It could be his third-year high school picture, for all Izuku knows. Either way, the Yagi staring at him from this page is young. Very young. Updating your picture in the Quirk registry is optional after you graduate high school. They use your school pictures until then, but after you graduate, if you want your picture updated, you have to do it yourself. Most heroes keep their pictures current. Their profiles, parts of them, at least, are more available to the public than most civilians. But this picture obviously hasn't been updated in several decades. He tears his eyes away from the profile picture. The smile looks so familiar. Izuku swears up and down he knows who Yagi's hero identity is. There's no way he doesn't. There are too many little things that are too familiar, and looks at the rest of the profile. Name, Yagi Tashinori. Born, June 10th XXXX. Quirk, none. His hand flies to his mouth as he gasps audibly. He flips over to the news tab he still has open and searches frantically for a date. And oh god, Yagi would have been 7 years old at the time of the murder, and oh god, they're probably the same person. And then he's quirkless? He's quirkless. Yagi Tashinori was, a hero, and he is quirkless. Good lord, and all the heavens above, Izuku has to know this story. The government isn't going to keep perfect records of their lives, but census reports, school records, and government forms can tell a lot about a person. He has a long night ahead of him if he's going to dig up Yagi's life story. His phone dings, and Izuku nearly jumps out of his skin. He wheezes, reaching for it, trying to calm his racing heart. He knows he gets jumpy when he's focusing on something, but this is ridiculous. Looks like a message from the group chat. Crimson Riot. Yeah, I've never heard of anybody named Yagi. Crimson Riot. I don't have him either. Maybe he teaches second or third years. Crimson Riot. Anyway. Crimson Riot. Not to take away from UR Soul Searching or WTV. Crimson Riot. But All Might taught US today. Crimson Riot. I am still shook. Small_might really? Tell me everything. Crimson Riot. He was in full costume and we did battle training and he's so loud? I didn't expect him to be that loud. Crimson Riot. I probably should have expected that, but. Small_might. Nah, I feel. When I met him first, it surprised me how loud. Crimson Riot. He's also a huge fucking dork, y'all should know. Crimson Riot. I felt 90% manlier just standing next to him. Crimson Riot. And he congratulated me on my performance, and I cried so many manly tears. Best Gnas, you are starting to sound like Deku. Professional yike. PFFFFFT, you're right, and you should say it. Crimson Riot. You didn't understand. Small_might. You really don't. It's a religious experience. Crimson Riot. Deku, you are the only person who understands me. Small_might. Thank you, EI. He'll spill his research into the chat once he's done. There are still too many holes for him to be satisfied, and heaven help him, he will fill in this picture if it kills him. Alternatively, he could just go ask Yagi about these things. Say, hey, I did some Googling and I couldn't find you. Please tell me who you are, I'm dying. But where's the fun in that? When Mom gets home at 7, Izuku knows enough to leave a permanent lump in his throat, and yet still has no idea who Yagi is. Uraraka catches him on the way to school the next day. Deku, she yells, screeching to a halt just before she runs into him. I never got your number. Oh, sure, hold on. He pulls out his phone and hands it to her. I wanted to text you yesterday after class, but then I couldn't. And I thought, that's a shame. So I'm glad I caught you before class today. She grins, handing him back his phone. She wanted to text him? That's wow. They fall into step together. All Might taught us yesterday. He was so cool. She pumps her fist into the air, bouncing on her feet. He's so much bigger in real life, though. Izuku can't help but laugh. Oh yeah, definitely. I always knew he was tall, but when I first met him it really caught me off guard just how tall. That, and I was a little too starstruck to really process anything I was seeing, he says. Uraraka nods enthusiastically. Same. I almost screamed when he walked in the door. When did you meet him? Does he teach general studies too? Oh, no. He feels himself flush. He saved me from a villain about a year ago. Her eyes go wide. Really? Are you okay? Were you okay? He forces a laugh. Yeah, I'm fine. It was scary, but like I said, All Might saved me, which was really cool. She is about to respond when suddenly the press is on top of them. There are cameras and microphones pointed in their faces from all directions, and about 1 million people asking what it was like to have All Might as a teacher. Ah yes, the news had to break some time, he guesses. Uraraka shyly answers that he's a good teacher and that yes, he's just as nice as he looks, but Izuku ducks the questions. I'm in general studies, I don't have him. The reporters look disappointed, but eventually let him slip by. He grabs Uraraka's elbow and drags her away from the press as well. She seems relieved. Her shoulders slump and she sighs. Thanks, Deku. I don't know if I could have made it out of there on my own. It's no problem. He puts his hands on his hips and sticks his chest out dramatically. That's what a hero is for, right? She breaks down into hysterical laughter, and Izuku can't help but join in. They pass Shinso on their way into the school, and Izuku doesn't miss the dirty look he throws their way. He winces a little. He should talk to Shinso today if there's time. Maybe convince him that they should work together. Though he's still not sure how. Maybe he needs to come up with some kind of plan? Some way that they both can work together to beat everyone else at the sports festival. Would Shinso be more receptive to a plan like that? Or would it be better to just try and befriend him first? Deku. His head snaps up and he looks, wide-eyed, at Uraraka. You're mumbling to yourself. What's up? Oh, sorry. He rubs the back of his neck sheepishly. It's nothing important. Just schoolwork. He's not sure why he lies to her. Maybe if he and Shinso can catch the hero classes off guard, they'll stand a better chance? Yeah, that's it. She hums. Well, good luck with that. I'll see you at lunch. Maybe not today. I have another friend I'm meeting up with. That's fine. Have a good day, Deku. You too. He waves and she bounces off to Class 1A. He hears someone scream when she opens the door, and wow, that sounds a lot like Kakin. He's not entirely sure where Kakin ended up, but if Uraraka has to deal with him, then props to her, and he wishes her all the luck in the world. He ended up sitting next to the girl from the first day who asked him about gymnastics. Her name is Arai Run, and she's actually pretty nice. Izuku spent some time talking to her yesterday, and today when he gets into class she immediately spins around and starts talking to him about all the journalists outside, and wasn't it miserable trying to slip through all of them? Well, they all finally know what All Might is doing, and that's kind of important for them, he shakes his head. But yeah, they were really annoying. Hopefully the teachers can get rid of them before we have to leave. Arai sighs. Hopefully. I haven't even seen All Might yet. Me either, actually. Isn't it weird? Where is he? I want to meet him. I want him to crush my head between his pecs. Izuku chokes out a startled laugh. You what? She waves her hand idly through the air. It's not important. More importantly, don't you? I can't say I've ever thought about it. He swears he hears Shinso snort from behind him. Has he ever thought about All Might crushing his head between his pecs? Good lord, that's such a strange image. He needs to stop thinking about it, or he'll be scarred for life. Thankfully, Midnight saves him from his own thoughts in this conversation when she walks in and announces that they need to pick a class president. Everyone perks up at that. As much as Izuku would like to be the class president, he doesn't think it's all that realistic. He's not exactly planning on staying in this class for very long. And shouldn't the class president have some kind of loyalty to the class as a whole? They probably should. Someone suggests that everyone who wants to be president give a 30-second campaign pitch, and then they all vote, since they don't know each other that well. It seems reasonable enough, and one by one most of Class 1C tries to sell themselves in 30 seconds or less. Izuku can't help but notice that Shinso also doesn't offer himself up as a potential candidate. Arai does, and while Izuku wouldn't trust her not to crack an egg, let alone lead a class, he's got to admit that she has his vote. At least the chaos will be fun to watch. Arai actually amasses 3 votes. He wonders who the third one was, but she doesn't beat out another girl who gets 5. Granted, the other girl, Weno, actually looks like she has her life together. She'll make a good class president, and maybe she can manage to rein in her overexcitable vice president. That would be a feat in of itself. Homeroom is over pretty quickly, and Izuku learns that the teachers at UE, despite being pro-heroes and looking severely less than qualified to teach things like math and English, does Present Mike even have any certification? They don't go easy on students. It is the top school in Japan. He should have guessed that the academics would be challenging too, but he isn't expecting to be lost in math on the second day of school. Ectoplasm seems like a nice enough guy, if a bit intimidating, but his teaching style is very different than anything Izuku has dealt with before, and it always takes him a bit to figure out what people are trying to tell him. In a week or so he should be fine, but the adjustment period is always tricky. Ectoplasm had also promised to let them know when he was teaching heroics, and he hadn't said anything today, so maybe he'll go talk to him after school and see if he can get everything sorted out. He'll never make it into heroics if he's failing math, that's for sure. He'll deal with math after school, though. Now is lunchtime, and he promised EI he'd sit with him today. They even have a pre-arranged meeting spot and everything. Ijiru is waiting there for him. He's scrolling through their group chat. Chie and Kuma have forgotten that they have a private server for a reason and are planning a lunch date for this Saturday since they're both in Tokyo now. He's so engrossed that he doesn't notice Deku approaching him and startles, barely, when he sets down his lunch tray and takes the seat across from him. Oh, sorry, Kirishima. I didn't mean to spook you, Deku says, waving his hands in some kind of apologetic dance. Ijiru almost laughs. He's so much more expressive than he imagined. It's really cute, actually. Not to mention that Deku's hair looks so much fluffier in real life. It's fine. Don't worry about it, bro. Deku seems to relax at that. And you don't have to call me Kirishima just because we've only technically known each other for 2 days. You've been calling me EI for eons now. Deku pokes at his food. Yeah, but that means you don't get to call me Midoriya. Deku, my bro, I wouldn't dream of it. He seems to perk up at that, and Ijiro's heart soars. This is going so well. How's Yui's infamous heroics program treating you? Deku asks, and he is more than happy to answer. It's crazy as hell, bro. Aizawa has expelled 2 kids already, and I keep thinking it's gonna be me next. But All Might is so cool. And I don't know the other kids that well, but everyone is crazy strong, and it's making me feel a little like a phony. Deku smacks him lightly on the hand, but then his eyes go wide and he reels away. Sorry, I shouldn't have hit you like that. It's just something Chie and I do, and I forgot not everyone does. Ijiro laughs. It's fine, bro. Deku sighs. Okay, good. Because I meant it. You shouldn't talk about yourself like that. You're more than strong enough to be in the hero course. Deku looks so earnest, and honestly he's flattered. He claps a hand over his heart. Bro. He's cut off by the alarm bell sounding and the lunch crowd completely going to hell. He grabs Deku's arm and hauls him to his feet as the crowd washes over then and out into the hallway. Everyone is screaming and pushing each other. Ijiro is really glad he's not claustrophobic, or this would be a nightmare. What's going on? Deku yells. It means someone's breached security. There's someone on school grounds, comes the response from an upperclassman. That does nothing to quell Ijiro's nerves. If anything, his stomach ties into larger knots than before. This is like something out of an American horror film. He's about ready to accept his death. He is yet to let go of Deku, though. He's so tiny he'd be eaten alive by this crowd. When something whizzes above his head and slams into the archway above the door. Oh, that's Ida. Ijiro had been secretly hoping he would have one class president, but hadn't been willing to sacrifice his vote. He isn't too hung up on it. Todoroki seems like he'll make a fine class president. He's cool and level-headed enough. Everyone, Ida yells above the din. It's just the media. Please calm down. Just the media? The crowd quiets and Deku slumps against him. It makes sense, doesn't it? They were trying really hard to get into the school when he'd gotten here this morning. Still, it's a little disconcerting. Yui's supposed to have really great security. Like, the best. Deku must be thinking the same thing, because he's muttering up a storm. Cute? Good Lord, Ijiro is too gay for this. Not long after, a teacher shows up and informs them that it was, in fact, a false alarm and that everything is okay now. They shuffle back into the lunchroom and Deku gives him this look. It's not nothing, is it? Ijiro says. Deku swallows. I don't think so. I really want it to be nothing, but is it ever? Deku smiles, barely. It doesn't reach his eyes. You're talking to the guy who almost got killed by the same villain twice in a day. His face twists, like he's thinking something that he won't say. Any coincidence is a bad thing in my book. Needless to say, Ijiro is on edge for the rest of the day and can't properly appreciate that Snipe is teaching heroics for the day. Under any other circumstances, he'd be ecstatic. Snipe is one of his favorites. He is pleasantly surprised when Todoroki gives the class presidency over to Ida. It's fitting, and it makes him respect Todoroki more, but it's not enough to snap him out of his funk. He's hopelessly distracted and ends up taking a pretty bad fall during whatever obstacle course Snipe has them doing, maneuverability exercise. He hardens himself before he hits the ground, so he doesn't hurt himself. He's a little shaken, maybe, but Snipe still pulls him out of the exercise and is fussing over him? Honestly, not something Ijiro would have expected, but that's the only way he can describe what is happening. Snipe ends up conceding a bit and doesn't send him to see Recovery Girl, but he is held out for the rest of the class. Ijiro huffs and rests his chin in his hand. He's not really excited about just watching the rest of the class. How is he supposed to get stronger if he's stuck out here? Then again, maybe it's better if he takes a minute to lose himself in his thoughts. If he can work through whatever was distracting him, this won't happen again. Unsurprisingly, Bakugo is one of the first people done. Oi, shitty hair. What the fuck are you doing up here? Ijiro startles out of his weird trance. I fell and Snipe pulled me out. TCH. He almost looks like he want to kick something. I drew, or the ground maybe. And he tenses just in case, but Bakugu turns on his heel toward the locker room. Idra watches him go. Bakugu is interesting to say the least. He's definitely one of the strongest people in their class, but he's got this whole air of hostility around him that's a little more intimidating than he would care to admit. He's just very loud and very rude. Really hot, too. Ijiru wishes his type was an asshole bad boy, but here we are. There's something there, though. He isn't the best at reading people, but there's something in the way that Bakugu runs his fingers absently over the scar on his face when he's not thinking, or the almost soft look that flashed over his face before he turned away just a moment ago that makes him think that there has to be something. So what if he spends too much time watching him in class? Ijiru is 15 and gay, and Bakugu is hot. Sue him. He's not sure what that something is, but he really wants to find out. It took significantly longer than he was expecting, but Ectoplasm was really very willing to work with him, and Izuku is starting to get a grasp on how he teaches. It'll still be a few more weeks before it clicks entirely, but at least he's no longer behind on the second day of school. And Ectoplasm was really nice, actually, so he doesn't feel weird about asking him for help. He glances at a clock as he leaves the classroom. Wow, it's really late. The heroics class should be getting out in a few minutes. Maybe he can catch EI or Uraraka. That would be nice. But then again, he runs the risk of running into Kakin. He's been lucky so far, but obviously that luck can't last forever, especially if he gets into heroics. He can certainly drag it out as long as humanly possible, though. He'll probably just head out. He's not paying attention, again, and crashes into someone. I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention, are you okay? He bows, not very deeply, more of an apologetic head nod than anything else. Whoever he ran into laughs. Young Midoriya, we need to stop meeting like this. His head snaps up, and he hopes that Yagi takes his wide eyes for something other than horrified shock. I'm sorry about that. I need to watch where I'm going, and I don't. I just get kinda, lost in my head, and I'm really sorry again. He really wasn't counting on seeing Yagi again today. Not that he's disappointed to see him, necessarily. Yagi is a really nice guy. It's just that Izuku isn't quite sure what to say to someone who is, legally, dead. Yagi smiles and claps him on the shoulder. His hands are so big. Don't worry about it, my boy. I've seen a lot in my day. I won't be so easily fazed by a little bump now and again. Izuku nods, trying desperately to quell the voice in his head screaming, the government thinks you died when you were 19. Why did you tell me your real name? And good heavens above, he can't even ask if Yagi is really quirkless because that will mean admitting that he can get into the quirk registry, which also, if you know where to look, has everyone's legal birth/death dates, and so then Yagi would know that he knows, and wouldn't that just be a disaster? Can he maybe slip it into casual conversation? Hey, I googled you and couldn't find a hero who looked like you. Or would that be too risky? Do you teach the second and third years? You know what? Fine. Whatever. That's a good enough question. Yagi chuckles. Disappointed you don't have me. There's some kind of mischievous glint in his eye, and Izuku really wishes he could associate that with anything other than I've been in hiding for nearly half a century, you've got nothing on me. Kid, but alas. Yeah, a little, is what he actually says. I only teach heroics. Nizu has me bouncing between all 3 years, but I don't have a core class to teach. He sighs. Maybe one day. I've seen a lot. Maybe I could teach some kind of elective on quirk theory. I'm trying to get into heroics, so hopefully I'll have you then. Izuku smiles, hoping it looks genuine. The screaming in his head hasn't stopped. He's quirkless and only teaching heroics? There's something really big here that he's missing. He just knows it. He doesn't miss when Yagi falters. It's small, and he recovers pretty quick, but something about Izuku making it into heroics is making him uncomfortable. Fascinating. The smile he puts on is very obviously fake. That would be wonderful, my boy. How? How are you planning to get into heroics? He's definitely uncomfortable with this. Izuku is a nice person at heart, but he's also bound set and determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. So as much as it's making him sick, he's going to dig his nails into this crack in Yagi's armor and hope something peels up. He bounces a bit as they walk. Sports festival. My quirk isn't very good against robots, but I've got a way better chance against people. And I figure if a Gen Ed kid can beat out at least most of the heroic students, they've got to consider me, right? At least none of that is a lie. He is excited to show everyone at the sports festival what he's made of. They certainly should. I was one of the proctors for the entrance exam, and I couldn't help but realize how unfair it was. Many of the active pros I know could not have passed it. Yagi shakes his head. Izuku can't help but realize that he doesn't lump himself in with the people who couldn't have passed the practical. I'm trying to negotiate a different approach to the exam, but Yui has been doing this exam since I attended, and Nizu isn't keen on changing it. Izuku hums. Best of luck to you. He knew that Yagi attended Yui for 1 year, his 3rd year. He also died only months after graduating, without making a real debut as a hero. The Yui records are also fuzzy, like they've been tampered with. Yagi gives him a look that's almost fond. Thank you, my boy. I'm sure if you make a big enough splash at the sports festival, it'll be much easier to convince Nizu to come around. Izuku beams. Thank you. I'll try. Yagi glances down at the oversized watch on his wrist. Shit. Forgive my language. Nizu wanted us all in an emergency meeting. I've got to go. Is it about the break-in? Yagi winces. I'm afraid so. I don't want to spook you. There are enough pro heroes here that you'll be safe, but we are worried that there's something going on. It doesn't hurt to be paranoid, especially when your safety is our top priority. Izuku nods. Good luck with that. I hope it's nothing. Me too, my boy. Me too. Chapter 6, the one with USJ. It's Wednesday, the 3rd day of high school. It's still 10 in the morning. He isn't even halfway through the day, and Hitoshi is already tired. He could probably nap for an entire week. Maybe more than that. He's typically pretty good about staying on top of the insomnia. Yeah, it sucks, and he's tired all the time, but he hasn't been this tired in a good long while. He's practically falling asleep on his feet and definitely counting down the minutes until lunchtime when he can sneak away somewhere and power nap. Some logical part of his brain is telling him that it's just because this is a new experience, and those are always exhausting. Not to mention the fact that everyone at Yui is overly friendly and bound, set, and determined to befriend him or talk his ear off, at least. He has hit his social quota before school starts every day so far. So there are a lot of factors contributing to how much of a zombie he is today. The first 2 classes of the day were absolutely torturous. They're all heading out to gym now, and as much as Hitoshi hates physical education classes with a fiery burning passion, he's actually kind of excited for it. Maybe if they're out and moving, it'll wake him up. Hopefully. He's praying anyway. He's not sure how to feel about the fact that they're taking another physical exam. Most of the class groans, and though he doesn't say anything out loud, Hitoshi is definitely screaming into the void as he stares into the middle distance. The groans of disappointment fade to a ripple of excitement when it's revealed that they can use their quirks for this exam. Because the heroics courses take their physical exams with quirks, so it's only fair if you do too. Needless to say, the screaming increases. Thankfully, the void doesn't ask silly questions, nor does it scream back. What a good pal. This is great. Just stellar. He files into the line, waiting his turn for each of the assessment tests. Everyone is buzzing around him, sharing quirks and, in Midoriya's case, giving strategies and suggestions for how to use those quirks. He's in general studies. There should be enough people in this class with non-physical quirks that he won't be the only one getting the same scores on both tests, but apparently not. This is Yui. After all, he thinks with a sigh, can't expect to find other people like him. Psychological quirks are rare enough as it is, and with Yui's bias toward physical quirks, he really shouldn't be surprised that he's the only one. Some part of him still insists that there should be some kind of override for people with psychological quirks, because they're effective as fuck, just not in the same way strength-enhancing quirks are. Maybe he'll start some kind of protest. That would be fun. It is kind of interesting to see what kind of quirks everyone has. They haven't had a lot of chances to play show and tell with them, so there are a lot of surprises. For starters, Arai's quirk is metal as fuck. She and Midoriya are standing right next to him, so he heard when she said, "It's called dust. I can turn my body to dust and then reform it." So he really should have been expecting it, but holy shit was he ever wrong. She's lining up with a few other kids for the 100-meter sprint. Midoriya grins at her, and she gives him a thumbs up, before the whistle calls and the other three kids take off running. Arai doesn't, though. She jumps into the air and disintegrates. Just dissolves, turns to dust. The dust, which kind of looks like ashes and isn't that morbid, floats through the air, carried by the breeze and whizzes past the other three kids before coming back together at the finish line. Arai, who is rematerializing significantly slower than she fell apart, it's awfully morbid. There are chunks of her skin still missing, and watching her muscles and organs reform over her bones is something Hitoshi isn't going to get out of his head for a long, long time. Claps and yells something. The other kids come panting across the finish, and most of the class is yelling curses along the lines of, "What the fuck kind of quirk is that?" Either that, or they're complimenting her on her use of a probably impractical and terrifying quirk. She eats up the praise with a grin that's more mischievous than it should be, and dissolves her hand. She catches the pile of dust in her other hand, and oh god, Hitoshi really didn't think he was queasy, but seeing the cross-section of her wrist, which is still pulsing and very much alive, is making his stomach churn. He still doesn't regret voting for her. She didn't make class president, but she's the vice, and that's probably the better position for her. It'll certainly be more entertaining and less terrifying this way, at least. And watching Ueno try to deal with her has been like a live sitcom all on its own. He can't help but notice that they're halfway through the exam and Midoriya hasn't used his quirk once. Now that he thinks of it, he doesn't actually know what Midoriya's quirk is. It's got to be something powerful, or he never would have considered taking the practical exam. But he didn't pass it either, so who knows? That's not really saying a lot. Only 40 people passed the practical out of the 500 or so that took it. It's got to be something physical or combat-oriented. Or at least, that's the most likely. Most everyone in their class has already used their quirk on at least one test, or he's overheard them planning which test they'll use it on. And while Midoriya has been very vocal in helping people strategize how to best use their quirks, he hasn't once said anything about himself. Honestly, Hitoshi isn't quite sure why he's so fixed on Midoriya right now. That's a lie, he knows exactly why. He's been doing his best to ignore him for the last few days, telling himself that he doesn't need a distraction on his track to heroics. But fuck, Midoriya is persistent. Way more so than Hitoshi expected him to be. So maybe that's factoring into his fixation. But in all honesty, he can't tear his eyes away from Midoriya's arms. They met for the first time in January, and it was cold, so they had both been wearing sweaters, and their winter uniforms are long-sleeved. So he hadn't thought much about the odd splotchy coloring of Midoriya's hands. But now they're all in their gym uniforms, which are short-sleeved, and Midoriya's arms are exposed to the world. Which is a really weird way to phrase that. He knows that, but it's the only way he can think of. Midoriya's arms are absolutely covered in scar tissue. It's red and splotchy and pulls over his muscles in odd, and often borderline grotesque, ways. There are too many places where the skin is warped enough that he knows Midoriya lost more than a few layers of skin to the injury. They look like burn scars. There's nothing else he can think of that would cause damage like that. It's like Midoriya stuck his arms in a bonfire. Repeatedly. Hitoshi can't tear his eyes away. Yeah, he knows staring is rude, shove off. So he's going to blame that for why he notices that Midoriya hasn't once used his quirk. He still pulls impressive scores on a lot of the tests. I'm a gymnast. Obviously, I have good grip strength. But they're all the same as last time. Hitoshi wishes his scores were the same as last time. They're actually lower now, and he's going to blame that on the sleep deprivation. If only there was some part of this test that was like, how fast can you force someone else to eat a bowl of cereal? He'd be so good at that. God, he's exhausted. The fitness test, in the end, did very little to wake him up. If anything, he's more tired now and cursing his existence. They're shooed off the field and Midoriya falls into step with him, as per normal, on their way back to the locker room. If only he could ask about all the scarring without sounding like a creep. So I, noticed you didn't use your quirk. Fucking smooth, Hitoshi. Midoriya actually laughs, like it surprised him. It's not an angry or forced laugh, though, so Hitoshi is going to count that as some kind of victory. Nah, it wouldn't have helped me. Arai can turn into dust, and you found a way for her to use that. Midoriya hums. Yeah, I'm glad that actually worked. I was kind of worried that she wouldn't be able to pull herself back together, and then we'd have to deal with her being half a person, but thankfully not. Thankfully not, indeed. Just watching the Arai rebuild herself for 45 seconds had been traumatizing enough. He doesn't want to see that every day. That's not the point, though. Midoriya is redirecting the conversation, and Hitoshi is going to get answers out of this kid if it kills him. What is your quirk? What's your quirk? Midoriya raises an eyebrow at him, some kind of smile that can't mean good things pulling on his mouth. Hitoshi groans. Inwardly or outwardly, he's not really sure. Probably outwardly, given that Midoriya laughs at him. You don't have to tell me if you don't want, but you did want to be a hero, right? Won't people have to know your quirk then? Hitoshi shakes his head. It would actually be better if they didn't. I was planning on being an underground hero. Midoriya's face lights up, like Eraserhead. Oh, that makes a lot of sense, since you both have psychological quirks. I should have thought of that. Of course, psychological quirks are more effective if people don't know what they are. That almost pulls a surprised laugh out of him. Eraserhead is actually my favorite hero, he says a little sheepishly. Really? He teaches Class 1A, did you know? Wait, really? Hitoshi would have tried to hide the excitement in his voice, but oh my god, this is Eraserhead we're talking about. Yeah, I have a couple friends in his class, and apparently he's already expelled 2 students, so you know what that means. Midoriya shoots him that same mischievous smile. 2 open slots in the hero course. Oh shit, you're right. Midoriya laughs. Right? If that's not fate, I'm not sure what is. But also, can you imagine being in Eraserhead's class? He's so cool. I would love to learn from him. Not that I don't appreciate Midnight being our teacher. She's definitely one of my favorite heroes. She's my friend Chie's role model in life. Actually. But it's different, you know? She's not teaching us heroic stuff, because we're Gen Edition. But Eraserhead would be teaching us specifically how to be heroes, and some kind of strangled noise escapes his throat. Hitoshi isn't entirely sure if that was ever intended to sound like a word or not. It would be so cool I would die. He can't help but agree, and he hums. Eraserhead being his homeroom teacher would be essentially a dream come true. And maybe Midoriya is right? Some people will have to know his quirk, so he'll have to get over his fear of telling people eventually. God, it's so fucking hard though. My quirk is called Fire Pull, by the way, Midoriya says. I can pull fire towards me. That's literally it. I can't push it or manipulate it or make it bigger or anything. I can just sort of suspend it in space, so it can't go out when I'm pulling on it, but it can't do anything other than rocket toward me either. He shrugs. So it wouldn't do a lot in the fitness test. Maybe if I was wearing some stuff that was fireproof, I could pull something off, but our gym uniforms aren't great protection. They're in the locker room now, and Midoriya's locker is close enough to Hitoshi's that they can still talk without disturbing anyone else. Midoriya pulls his shirt off as he says this, and Hitoshi's breath catches in his throat. The scarring, though not as bad as on his arms, covers most of his torso and even up the back of his neck. Midoriya must see him staring, because he forces a chuckle and looks down at his arms. They're not very pretty, are they? It's a backlash of my quirk. I'm not exactly fireproof, so when I was little and didn't know how to control it, I got hurt a lot. I still do, actually. He rubs a hand over his forearm. There's a dazed look in his eyes as he stares at the ground. Or, in that general direction. He obviously isn't seeing what's right in front of him. He shakes his head and snaps himself out of his daze, smiling at Hitoshi. It's fun. It's a good, inconvenient quirk, but I'm doing my best with it. Hitoshi nods. He's not quite sure what to say to that. My quirk is brainwashing. Fuck, there it is. No going back now. I can make people do whatever I want if they respond to something I say. Midoriya's eyes light up, and he practically jumps with excitement. Or maybe he does. Really? That's so cool. Oh my god, that's such a good quirk for hero work. You're practically unstoppable. How much control do you have over people? Can they break out? Or do you have to release them? Is there a time limit? Can you control multiple people at once? How does it work? Can you show me? Just like, use your quirk on me right now, I want to see. Only if you're comfortable with that, though. Hitoshi catches himself before his jaw goes slack. No one has ever responded like that to his quirk. The words, "That's a villain's quirk," will be engraved on his soul forever. Eloquent as ever, Hitoshi. There's not a time limit as far as I'm aware. People can snap themselves out if they get hurt, otherwise I have to release control. I'm not sure if I have a limit on the number of people I can control. I know that the more people, the simpler the commands have to be, and I start to get a headache if I overuse it, but I don't know where the line is. I haven't exactly had a lot of opportunities to use it, he trails off. This is uncharted territory, and he can feel his stomach churning something awful. That's just so cool. Midoriya is practically bouncing, though, and Hitoshi doesn't know how to deal with this. Really, though, can you use it on me really quick? Obviously, if you're uncomfortable, you can tell me to stop asking, and I will. I swear to you I will. But I'm dying, your quirk is so cool, just like, tell me to put my shoes on or something. Sure. Really? Hitoshi activates his quirk and Midoriya's eyes glaze over. He almost considers making Midoriya do the chicken dance, but they have to be to their next class in 7 minutes, so he should probably be responsible about this. Put your shoes on the wrong feet. Or mostly responsible about this. Midoriya bends down and puts his shoes on the wrong feet with the semi-mechanical movements he has come to associate with his quirk. He's always wondered if there is a way to make people move more naturally under his control, but he's never had a lot of willing test subjects, so that's still a path that has remained unexplored. Midoriya straightens, and his glazed eyes stare past Hitoshi. He doesn't really like relinquishing control willingly. It's a weird process, but he should probably get used to it. It's like he has to sever the internal links he has with the person, which is really strange and makes his brain feel kind of fuzzy. He sighs and cuts his mental thread with Midoriya. The fuzziness hits his brain, and he squeezes his eyes against it. But it fades into the exhaustion, so it's not too bad. He's still really tired, though, so maybe it is weird and not quite worth it. Midoriya blinks as his volition snaps back to him. He sways a little on his feet before breaking into a wide grin. That was so cool. Is the fuzziness a side effect? I kind of feel like my head is still full of static. I think so. If I break the time myself, I always feel a little dizzy, but it doesn't happen when the person snaps themselves out of it. I'm not sure about your end, though. The only thing weirder than Midoriya instantly accepting and praising him for his quirk is that he's now realizing just how much he doesn't know about his own quirk. A decade of people being scared of him for it will do that, he guesses. If you want, I'm 100% willing to be a test subject for you, Midoriya says. We've got to make sure our quirks are top-notch for the sports festival, right? He punches Hitoshi in the shoulder, not hard enough to hurt. Far from it, and grins at him. Hitoshi feels himself smiling. Right. Wasn't his whole goal to try and avoid Midoriya because he didn't want to get distracted from his goal? How did this happen? There are 2 open spots in the heroics class right now. Maybe this won't be a bad thing. Maybe. Midoriya looks down at his mismatched shoes and sighs. I really should have expected this. In any case, Hitoshi accidentally made a friend, and that is just as weird as everything else as anything else here. It's Wednesday, the 3rd day of school, and they're going on a field trip. Yui is amazing. Ida's falling right into his role as class president, and is making quite a fuss about everyone getting onto the bus in an orderly fashion. Ochako giggles. That's just like him, isn't it? The unforeseen simulation joint, or USJ, and that can't be a coincidence, is huge. Way bigger than she expected. And 13 is going to be teaching them, which is pretty much a dream come true. This day cannot get any better, she's sure of it. Izuku runs into Yagi after school again. Not literally, this time, thankfully. He's a little more prepared to actually talk to him today. Significantly less shaken about the whole, you're supposed to be dead thing. Mr. Yagi. Hi. He's out of breath. He may not have literally run into Yagi this time, but he came pretty close and is still trying to calm his racing heart. Yagi smiles at him, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes. Hello, my boy. Is something wrong? The question is out before Izuku can stop himself. In his defense, Yagi looks really unsettled. Something in the back of his mind screams that it's because he knows that Izuku knows too much. Yagi shakes his head. Nothing is wrong, young Midoriya. He sighs, his shoulders slumping. I was supposed to teach Class 1A today, but my illness is acting up and Aizawa forced me to stay here. Oh goodness, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Yagi chuckles to himself a little. I'm fine. I should probably take it easy for the rest of the day, though. Best not to aggravate it. He sighs. Something tells Izuku that he really doesn't want to rest. It's kind of hilarious to think about. Actually, considering Yagi looks like a strong wind could knock him over. Yeah, best not to overdo it and make it worse, Izuku says. I was just on my way to have a cup of tea. Would you like to come? What are the odds that he can casually pry information out of him while they're having tea? Pretty good, provided he has enough time. I would love to. Maybe he should take Mom a little more seriously when she calls him sly. They start walking through the corridors, Izuku once again taking 2 steps for each of Yagi's. How are you doing, young Midoriya? Izuku hums. Good. I think I actually made a friend today, which is really exciting. Oh. Izuku bounces. Yeah, I met him at the entrance exam, but he didn't really want to talk to me the first few days here. We kinda connected today, though. I think we're friends now. That's very good, my boy. I'm happy for you. They arrive at the teacher's lounge, of all places. Honestly, he should have figured, and Kiyama raises her eyebrows at them, but sips her coffee. He has his doubts, and goes back to grading papers or reading or whatever it is she's doing. Other than her, they're alone. Yagi makes 2 cups of tea, and he sits on one of the soft green couches in the room. Izuku takes a seat across from him, cradling his cup in his hands and sipping on it idly. It's really good. Way nicer than anything they keep at home. Yagi says something about how hard teaching is, but he's enjoying it. I don't know how Aizawa can just expel kids like they mean nothing. My first day here, I walked into his class and felt like I needed to adopt every one of those kids. Izuku barks out a startled laugh and covers his mouth. Why Yagi couldn't wait until he was done drinking to say that is beyond him. Give them a few weeks. You'll either start responding to Dad, or you'll want to drown the lot of them, Kiyama says, and takes another drink out of her mug. Believe me, it happens every time. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, Yagi mumbles, staring at his tea like it'll help him. Do you think that about me, Kiyama-sensei? Izuku says. This could backfire really easily, but he's feeling cheeky, and it just kinda slipped out. She laughs. Somewhere he wonders if he shouldn't have recorded this conversation. Chia would love it. Midoriya, you are a headache waiting to happen. Not the answer he was expecting. Is that a bad thing? Far from it. He can see the smile pulling on her mouth and preens a little bit. Mom has referred to him as her little chaos agent for years now. He knows he's been the cause of a fair share of headaches. Miss Kiyama is your teacher? Yagi asks. Yeah, she's my homeroom teacher, he says. Maybe this will actually be easier with midnight here. More odds of someone slipping up and saying something they shouldn't. How much does she know, though? There's certainly a lot to probe here. Yagi smiles. That's wonderful. Miss Kiyama is a great teacher and a fantastic hero. She actually interned at my office when she was a first year. She was a delight, even then. Midnight hums. That's not exactly how I would put it. Izuku doesn't miss how her eyes flit to him. Fascinating. Oh, don't do yourself this disservice, Miss Kiyama. You're a very fun person. She snorts, and Izuku giggles. Aren't you supposed to be teaching today? Yagi freezes. It lasts half a second before he relaxes and starts talking again, but Izuku doesn't miss it. Aizawa told me to stay here. It's the Yagi hums, like there's a phrase or word he's searching for, but my injury/illness is acting up isn't all that hard to say. It's what he's said to Izuku every time they've talked about it. He throws a sideways glance at Izuku, who pretends to be very interested in his tea. I'm out of time for the day. Midnight quirks an eyebrow and nods in Izuku's direction. He's pointedly looking at a painting on the other side of the room. Maybe not pointedly so much as I'm trying to be casual, but still give you the illusion of privacy. Yagi shakes his head. Izuku frowns. You should really be more careful with yourself, She clears her throat. You're not as young as you used to be, and nobody here wants you dead just yet. She flashes him a smile. Yagi chuckles, but it's forced and awkward. He glances at the clock. Are you okay? Izuku asks. It's a fair question. Yagi doesn't look super great. Just worried, my boy. He glances at the clock again, and his hands shake a little. I can't help but feel that something is wrong. He smiles, but it's definitely forced. Comes with the business and all. Izuku frowns. Do you need to go? Yagi glances at the clock again. I shouldn't. You really shouldn't. Midnight is almost glaring at them from over her mug. His hands are still shaking as he sets his half-empty cup on the coffee table between them. I'm just going to stop by. If everything is fine, I'll come right back. I just don't feel right about this. He stands up and nearly knocks his cup over with his knees. Shit. Sorry, I need to, language. I have to go. He's out of the room a lot faster than Izuku thought he could move. Is he okay? Kiyama sighs. He's a reckless bastard, so probably not. But those kids are on Yui property, and they have Eraserhead and 13 with them. They'll be fine, even if something bad is happening. Izuku hums. Maybe it's just how Yagi was acting, but he definitely can feel a knot forming in his stomach. He finishes his tea and head out of the school. He's got a fair amount of homework to do, and he has a lesson with Jingwa-sensei tonight, and he wants to get it all done before then. He's barely outside the front door when Ida, wearing a costume, it's silver and there's lots of pipes, nearly crashes into him. Midoriya, are you okay? I didn't mean to hit you like that. His voice is frantic and he's shaking pretty bad. Wait, he's in 1A, isn't he? What is he doing here? I'm fine. What's wrong? What are you doing? Ida grits his teeth. We were attacked by villains. I was the only one to escape. I need to get back up. Shit. At least Yagi's danger sensor is accurate. He'll get there before them. That's good. I can help you get people. Midnight is the only person in the teacher's lounge, so you should go somewhere else. Shit, I don't know where everyone is, but I'll help you. There's a spark of relief in Ida's eyes. He nods curtly. Thank you. And then runs into the building, Izuku hot on his heels. Or as hot on his heels as he can be when Ida has some kind of speed quirk. He skids into the teacher's lounge. Kiyama-sensei, there are villains. Class 1A was attacked, and they need help. He really doesn't know any of the details. This sucks. Midnight must have some idea what's going on, because she jumps to her feet, a curse on her lips. Her chair clatters to the floor behind her. Do you know where the principal's office is? Izuku nods. Run and get Nizu. Ectoplasm should be in his office. Stop there too. Tell them to meet me out front. I need you to be fast. Midoriya, can you do that? He doesn't trust himself to speak, so he bites his tongue against the burning in his throat and nods. Go. Run like your life depends on it. He nods again and turns and runs out and down the hall. The burning in his throat only intensifies, but this is no time to cry. Uraraka and Ei are in 1A. Kaken too. There, oh god, they could be dead. Nizu is thankfully in his office and jumps up quickly. I'm going to get ectoplasm. Midnight said to meet her out front. His throat betrays him and he chokes. Nizu puts a paw on his arm. It's almost comforting. I'll spread the word. Thank you, Midoriya. He nods again. His eyes are watering, and he wipes at them fruitlessly before turning and running toward ectoplasm's office. God, he feels so useless. He follows ectoplasm outside. Ida is still there, and he looks like he's in just as much pain as when Izuku saw him earlier. Nizu is giving directions, and the teachers are splitting off into groups of 4 or 5 and piling into cars. Midnight and Nizu are alone. Izuku's feet are moving before he realizes what's happening. He doesn't want to be useless. Can I come with you? Absolutely not. Was he expecting another answer? Not really. Doesn't mean he can't use his big, round eyes to his advantage. They're already watering, have been for a while. Please, Kiyama-sensei. I have friends in that class and I won't. I won't go anywhere near the fighting. I'll stay back with the medical people, and I won't get underfoot, and I'll do exactly what you tell me to, no hesitation. Just please, I'm so worried. The tears spill over, and he knows he looks pathetic. He just hopes it helps his case. It must, because Kiyama sighs and pinches the bridge of her nose. Listen, Squirt, the only reason I'm saying yes is because I absolutely do not have the time or energy to fight you about this. But you will do exactly what everyone tells you to do. No questions, you won't get anywhere near the building, and you won't dare lift a finger to do anything noble. Got it? Izuku nods frantically, and she sighs again. He follows her to her car, and they drive off campus and to a large building with a dome roof about. Most of the other pros are already there, as well as several ambulances and a good deal of the police force. Midnight shoves him toward a man in a fedora and a long, tan trench coat. Hey, Izuku knows him, who is standing by some people who are probably paramedics. Make him useful, but make sure he stays back. What's the situation? We were just waiting for you and Nizu to arrive. The signals in the building are jammed, so we can't reach anyone in there, Tsukachi says. Nizu is about to say something when the ground shakes and the air is filled with the sound of shattering glass, closely followed by a whole lot of shouting. What was that? Everyone stay calm. Izuku swears he sees something flying up through the clouds. We need to get in there now, Present Mike says, gesticulating wildly. Midnight throws him a look that's way too knowing. We will. We're trying to get the doors open. We're almost there. Cementos calls from the top of the steps. Mike, may I borrow your speaker? Nizu asks. Mike nods and picks the principal up and sets him on his shoulder. Nizu disconnects something from Present Mick's speaker collar thing and clears his throat. Everyone, our best approach is to all enter at once. All Might is already in there, so our best quality right now is intimidation. There should be about 30 or 40 villains, and if we appear all in a pack, we will seem more numerous than we are. Everyone please gather near the doors. We will enter as soon as we can. He clips the microphone back to Mick's collar and hops down off his shoulder. If I hear so much as one sideways squeak out of you, you will be out of this school. Understood? Yes, Kiyama-sensei. Watch him, she says, pointing at Tsukachi, who nods. She gathers with the rest of the pro heroes at the top of the stairs, and soon they're all pushing their way into the building. The door's close behind them, and Izuku is left with dread twisting in his stomach and no idea what is happening. Can't seem to keep yourself out of trouble, can you? What? Izuku says, turning to look at Tsukachi with wide eyes. Oh, he forces a small laugh. I guess not. Hey kid, what's your name? One of the paramedics with pointed ears and small fangs says. Midoriya. Midoriya, do you know how to treat shock? A little. She glances around. Okay, I'm going to teach you. I'll be there working with you, but you're familiar with some of the kids, right? That'll be really helpful. Follow me. She guides him over to where a couple other people are setting up mats on the ground. Blankets are here. If anyone comes out and they're vomiting, have dilated pupils, are cold and shaky and the like, we'll have the team send them over this way. You take them, wrap a blanket around their shoulders, and lead them over to these mats. Lay them down and prop their feet a good 30 centimeters off the ground. Talk to them. Ask them questions. Make sure they're with you mentally and call us if anything gets worse, okay? Izuku nods. Okay. She claps him on the shoulder. Great, kid. This is going to be rough, so don't feel bad if you have to step out, okay? We have no idea what we're dealing with.